And you join us back here at the very tiny debate show. And before the break, Irish songbird Van Morrison beat Luther Vandross in a game of extreme pinochle. For all of us here in the studio, it was a delight. For all of you listening at home, it must have sounded like two out-of-breath walrus fighting over a squirrel in a pit of day old blancmange. Van, if I may call you that, what conclusions did that lead you to make about the renewable energy crisis?
Well, wouldn't I? Well, you know, it's sort of like that. If I told you lately that I love you. Well, if you took, I believe they can, do all sorts of things there. I heard they powered a car completely out of ham, I think. Whatever's possible, I'd have, Gloria, I believe that's how she's spelled the back of a Tesco's.
And Luther, your thesis? Well, next up we have Christopher Walken and Bob Dylan, and they're going to be seeing if there really is an answer to the American healthcare system. They're going to do so while being drowned out by obnoxious polka music provided by the Plumbers and Welders knee-length pants and bobbly hat brass band from Kleinig on the Rhine.
Ja, das ist die Liechtensteiner Polka, mein Schatz. Polka, mein Schatz. Polka, mein Schatz. Nach doch ein Liechtensteiner auf seinem Platz, mein Schatz. Man kann beim Schieben sich in beide Augen sehen. Man muss sich lieben und lieben schön. Oh ja, so eine Liechtensteiner Polka, die hat macht Rabatz, mein Schatz. Der alte von Liechtenstein, ja, der konnte nicht alleine sein. Nein, er schickte seine Boote aus, ja. Schaut mir nach Musikanten aus und schickt sie mir kurz auf. Die Musik bleibt in Luft, da wussten wir am Schluss. Ja, das ist die Liechtenstein.
Alright, that's enough. And to end our show, 80s funny man Russ Abbott is going to be fired from a cannon through some framed portraits of Princess Anne. Good night. No, put it in the sink. I don't want it dripping all over my face. And now on Radio Flange Goblet, it's our special holidays episode of the After Movie Diner. And to present it right, it's coming all the way from Martha Plimpton's left thigh serviette explosion, a charming and festive bistro on the back of a flatbed truck winging its way down the B732 to Upper Groynton, the town which until recently had a large gold statue of Michael Winner in a dress underneath a sign which had only one word written on it, and that word was flapjack. When you arrive at your destination, Martha Plimpton, or a pretty convincing lookalike, will be waiting for you personally to show you the way to our extensive choice of lavatories, and to openly mock your choice of loudly coloured holiday sweater. Rifles are available for men and women over 50, pipes for the over 20s, and ironic autographed pictures of Richard Grieco for the under 12s. Marvels and Marvelettes, and welcome to a very special episode of the After Movie Diner. Well, every episode I like to think is special, but this one just a hair more. Later on, we'll have a great friend of the show, David DeMoss, on to talk about Iron Man 3, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Thor The Dark World. But first up, we're very honoured to have the man behind the music for those films, Iron Man 3 and Thor The Dark World, as well as the Expendables and Fast and Furious franchises, Bubba Ho-Tep, John Dies at the End, and a whole host of unforgettable scores. The After Movie Diner is proud to present a conversation with Brian Tyler. Okay, hi Brian, can you hear me all right?
I can, yeah.
Okay, great. Hi, well thanks ever so much for being on the show, sir. Welcome to the After Movie Diner. We're big fans of your music here, and it's great to have this opportunity to talk.
Of course.
And happy Thanksgiving for yesterday, sir.
Hey, exactly. Thank you very much. Yeah, it was a day of thanks and work. So.
Yeah, you're a busy guy. You've always got about 4 projects on the go, according to IMDb.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I mean, I'm just leaving conducting just recorded orchestra for Hawaii 5-0 episode. So just leaving that right now.
Oh wow! Okay, yeah. So you've been working right through the holiday. Well, you need to take yourself a break. But thanks ever so much for doing this call. I hope it doesn't take too much time out of your day, sir.
No worries.
So I just wanted to start, as though the films we're actually covering on this week's show, with Iron Man 3 and Thor: The Dark World. These were your first time scoring for Marvel, right?
Yeah, it was. Exactly.
Okay, and I was wondering if that came about. I have this thing, because you've done a lot of action movies, with Iron Man 3, with Shane Black directing. It's a bit more of a traditional action film. Did it come about because of your Fast, Furious, Expendables work, or...?
Yeah, you know, it's a little bit of everything. For quite some time, Marvel, you know, I've been talking to them about trying to find the right fit, the right movie. And there were a number of times that, you know, we were talking about doing some other ones that didn't work. And, you know, so it was like the perfect opportunity for us to finally, everyone's schedule work, everyone was on the same page, and it was something was perfect for us to start on. But they were quite familiar with my scores, and even like scores like Annapolis and Greatest Game Ever Played and things like that, all the way through Battle Los Angeles and certainly Fast and Furious and Expendables and those. So it was kind of an amalgamation of different things. There were, you know, we've been talking for a while, and Iron Man 3 seemed like the perfect project to reboot the franchise in a post-Avengers Marvel universe. Cool,
very cool. And yeah, because I mean, obviously Shane Black, and also because of the story of Tony Stark in it, it's sort of written almost like a Lethal Weapon movie to some extent, with him and Rhodes, and you know the way they are at the back and forth and so on. Are you a fan of those movies? Did you draw on that kind of inspiration for the score?
Yeah, and in fact, big fan of the scores to those as well. Kamen, the scores are great. The way that Tony was approached with Shane, of course, and Drew Pierce writing, they really wanted to kind of go through Tony's journey as someone that has been affected by the events of the Avengers, and then how he deals with things now. It's definitely a different style, and enough so that we could afford to make it more superhero-y, but also legitimately like a big action movie at the same time. So they had a lot of highs and lows that one looks for in terms of writing a score, because it's definitely not something that is wall-to-wall action. It has more nuance and character, which is great. And it was time to kind of establish Tony's character musically as where he is now in life.
Yeah.
So that's what we set out to do.
And what scores inspire you, or music inspires you when you start a picture like Iron Man 3, or do you try not to listen to anything else at all?
Yeah, there's really nothing there. I mean, I'll hear the temp the first time I watch the movie, and then I just turn it off. You know, it's there really was no template. That Iron Man 3 was something we kind of didn't know what. Like, there was no template to even temp in, because it needed to be something that was very human, in the sense that he has this kind of a snarky, wisecracking, clever attitude, you know, this playboy about town kind of Tony Stark vibe. But the fact is that now he's become a kind of a reluctant superhero, and so it needed to have that as well. And it's weird, like most scores that have existed in the past are either extremely like raucous and like macho and all about the attitude, or they're very, very fantasy laden superhero scores, and neither fit for Iron Man 3. So we really had to come up with something new, which is a big challenge.
Yeah, I wondered if there... I mean, I couldn't think of one off the top of my head, but was there any sort of theme or anything from Iron Man 1 and 2 that you had to incorporate? Does Tony have a central theme? Or?
Yeah, Tony's theme is really from Iron Man 3 because there wasn't the room in those first two movies to actually have that kind of language.
Right.
Because of where his character was. There wasn't there wasn't the opportunity to do it yet, and now that he's really established himself, especially with the Avengers, and onward, he's almost like a new character in a sense. So he still has that Tony vibe, but now he's become more of a fully fledged superhero. So it really needed to be brand new because of where the story was, and it's not dissimilar to how Thor had to be a new theme as well because of. Again, the post-Avengers world Thor is very, very different.
Yeah.
Than the Thor that was 2 movies ago, essentially.
Yeah, of course. And so we're going to move on to Thor: The Dark World. It obviously has a much bigger fantasy element. You know, there are scenes in it that are almost Lord of the Rings-esque. Yeah. And how do you factor that into the music? How did you incorporate that with the stuff on Earth? Did you have 2 different...
Yeah, I mean, for Marvel... themes and scores, you're going to have 2 different, more different characters than Thor and Iron Man. I mean, one is a man-made superhero with a suit, and the other is a god. So, you couldn't have a wider range. So with Thor, it was completely leaning into the superhero fantasy elements and the epic nature of the fact that we're on a mythological planet, Asgard, that is not only like you have the science fiction Star Warsian aspect, but you're right, like the Lord of the Rings, cloak and riding horses and swords and troops, kind of medieval aspect. And those 2 things combined to kind of equal to me, you can go as epic as you possibly can, and somehow the character will allow for it. It absorbs big themes like no other. So that one was more of like a just go for it kind of mantra, really.
Yeah.
Make it as epic as possible and as fun and godlike as Thor can possibly be.
Well, because I suppose with Tony and Iron Man being very verbal, but the emotional storyline he's going through is very serious, whereas Thor seemed a bit more knockabout, like there was more fun to it, a bit more wacky almost. There's a lot of slapstick and stuff. So do you find Thor was a sort of more fun theme for you to do, a more sort of light-hearted score almost, or more?
Yeah, on the outset you'd think it would be the reverse because Tony is such a funny guy and Downey, the way he plays, was so hilarious. But at the same time, with Iron Man, he was a troubled soul, going through, there's a kind of a dark period for him. With Thor, he was confused in the first movie as to who he was, and he was cast out by his father, Odin. He kind of messed up, and then in Avengers, he kind of redeemed himself. So now we're in a situation where he is fully heir to the throne, and so there's a lot more room for kind of the fun and the craziness of him actually trying to have this relationship with a girl from Midgard, from Earth, Jane Foster. So it's a really cracking, fun movie, I think, and the character of Loki, of course, plays right into that as his brother, and there's this really interesting interplay between them. And I mean, it's a great canvas for. I can't think of a more fun canvas to have as a composer than something like Thor, because not only the great actors and the story and the Marvel universe, but it's combining these 2 things. There's kind of the old medieval sword and sandal kind of thing, or well, not sword and sandal, but sword and armor kind of thing.
Sword and shield,
sword sword and shield with science fiction lasers, and spaceships,
Yeah.
So it doesn't really get better than that for me, and it really spoke to the inner kid in me that grew up watching Lord of the Rings and Star Wars and all that. So.
Yeah, it had. I mean, not in the campy elements, but it had sort of Flash Gordon moments almost in a weird way.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have been out of place,
It was if Flash Gordon was done now with kind of the Marvel angle,
Yeah.
There's some really cool ships and dogfight flight sequences and battle sequences, and the Dark Elves are really cool, and it's just I think it was a blast to do, and I loved scoring it and loved conducting the orchestra too. It was great.
The next question does feature a mild Thor The Dark World spoiler, so if you really don't want to hear that, please just fast forward the interview by about a minute, really no longer than a minute. It's just it wouldn't spoil the enjoyment of the film, but it's just a little thing. If you didn't want to know it happened, please do just fast forward the next question by about a minute. Thanks. Yeah, I thought the movie was great. I thought it had everything in it, and I just wanted to say just quickly the scene, obviously, and we do spoil it in the show, but I wanted to let you know that the scene where his mother dies and they had the funeral, as much of a spectacle as it was, I thought it was so nicely downplayed. And although it was a big spectacle and, everything about it was subtle, there wasn't a lot of histrionics or whatever. It was just done so beautifully. It was very touching. I loved it. I thought you did a grand job there.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, I thought that was just a really well done scene, well thought out, and was one of the better scenes I've ever seen in any movie that kind of spoke to how we feel about someone passing on, kind of thing. And it was really beautiful and sad,
Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was great. Now, these were obviously big budget blockbusters with strict release dates. How much do you work closely with the director, or is there not really time on films like this?
Oh, yes, there's time. I would go back and, we discuss how to achieve what we wanted to achieve in the scene, and both Shane and Alan were very specific in what they wanted. It's not musically specific. They would tell me emotionally what they wanted.
Yeah.
From it. And so it was really great being able to work with people also that knew scores really well.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember with Shane we would have kind of competitions over who could. We didn't name that score. And it's pretty cool. Like true movie makers, and same with the Marvel people. I mean, from top to bottom there, Kevin Feige and everyone over there, Lou and Victoria, and I could go on and on. They're people that get it. They get what it's about, and they don't forget what it's like to be a movie fan sitting in the theater themselves. So it's pretty cool, and there is enough time to kind of go back and forth, regardless of the schedule, and be able to get exactly what we want.
And are you working with Marvel again in the future? Can you tell us? Or
yeah, there's it's an ongoing relationship.
Cool.
I always when they call, I'm happy to work with them, because I just feel like they're kindred spirits, and so we'll see what's in the future. It'll be really interesting. They have a great slate of movies coming up. And, hopefully we're working together soon.
So you started with independent films and weird and wonderful things like Six String Samurai. When you started composing, was your goal always for films, or were you looking to do like band stuff or solo stuff?
Both. It's funny. I was in lots of bands, and I loved writing that stuff, and I still do. And I'm really into rock, and I was in a lot of rock bands as a drummer, and also, keyboards, and still, work on records and whatnot. But I always loved film music, and so basically I think the first record I had, album of any sort, was probably Star Wars. I don't even know, but I think something like that.
Yeah.
So, as I was writing, I didn't really know exactly what I would be doing, but I was certainly going to, I mean, from the time I can, or at least I can remember, I wanted to be involved with both films and music, and it seems like, you know, a natural progression to have, when I started writing music, to start working with films once the opportunity presented itself, you know.
Yeah.
But I was writing kind of filmic music long before I was given any opportunity, you know.
Right, I see. Yeah. And you scored one of my, I think it's one of my top 5 all-time favorite scores when you did Bubba Ho-Tep. I mean, it really is a fantastic score. So
Bubba Ho-Tep.
Things. Yeah. What was that?
Yes.
What was that experience like, and what were the challenges of sort of creating the Elvis-like music, but obviously not Elvis?
Yeah, that was one of the, you know, looking back, it seems like an almost impossible task to create music that's kind of Elvis-y, but also isn't Elvis music, but
right.
also emotional and isn't campy in a way that makes fun of our characters but embraces them. And it was one of those things. I wrote a theme for it and thought that it'd be great with guitar and kind of a choir of, you know, not a refined choir, but more of a kind of just a choir of a bunch of me singing, you know, this kind of men's choir thing.
Sure.
So, I just wanted to make sure that the character was given full respect in it, and it's not kind of a goofy score whatsoever, even though the movie is kind of crazy and quirky and wacky.
Yeah.
I was like, well, let's play the music straight, because you really do feel for him. He's a genuine person, and so it came about like a kind of an unexpected way. It could have gone in a very, very different direction.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's certainly, you know, because of obviously the budget and everything, the music, to some extent, and everything's great about that movie, the direction, the acting, you know, everyone pulled out their A game. But the music, as scores often do to low-budget films, elevates that. Now, I mean, the one moment I think of is when he says, Mr. President, when JFK dies at the end. You got a lump in your throat. The hair comes on the back of your neck and it's a ridiculous situation. You know, this guy isn't JFK and he's not the president and he's not Elvis, but it immediately makes that moment emotional. It's fantastic. Yeah,
when he acknowledges what he wants to be. Yeah, it's a great moment in the movie. Yeah.
And the music complements it so well. So you reunited with Don Coscarelli for John Dies at the End. Is that going to be an ongoing relationship? What's that like then, and what draws you to offbeat projects like that?
You know, I love working with Don. You know, again, you know, I was a big Phantasm fan and all that, and so, you know, we're kindred spirits, and it is fun working on things that are a little bit off the wall. And so, yeah, I'm always every year trying to, you know, find a project or two, you know, that do that.
Yeah. And do you do a lot more work yourself on those, playing the instruments yourselves and keeping the orchestral side of it smaller and things like that? Is that more fun as well, more intimate?
Yeah, it is. I like changing it up, certainly. I mean, I just finished conducting today, and it was kind of a different size kind of chamber orchestra today. So,
oh, nice.
You know, it's just changing up. Sometimes I'll play all the instruments. You know, like on break or Bubba Ho-Tep, I'll just play everything.
Yeah.
And you know, it's changing up the instrumentation too is always fun.
And another big relationship, I guess, for your scoring and your filmmaking and things like that is obviously Stallone. You know, you worked with him on the fourth Rambo and then the Expendables trilogy. What was that like? What was the first time like meeting Stallone, and does he work closely with his composers?
He does. He's a big film music guy, for sure. And he's had such a like intimate relationship with the music and his themes from Rocky to Rambo. And he called me in. I mean, it's trippy meeting him at first. I mean, now we're friends, but you know, he called me in to check out the script for Rambo, which he was just finished. He hadn't shot the movie yet. And of course, you know, Jerry Goldsmith, having done the first three, you know, is taller or stepping in. But he called me in to first I didn't think it was him calling. I thought it was some guy joking around with using Stallone's voice, which just fooled me. But once I realized it was actually him, and we met, it was pretty cool, and we just talked about music, and it ended up being that we just really hit it off, just personally and from what we wanted out of these movies as well.
A couple more questions from listeners of the show. One of them was asking which movie score was the hardest score you did for a film.
Oh my goodness.
And sort of what made it hard? Was it because you had to do a lot on it, or was it because it was a big orchestra, or difficult subject matter, or I don't know?
Yeah, boy. What was it? It's interesting. It comes to mind the movie I just conducted last week called Into the Storm. And it was a challenge for a number of reasons. But one of the main challenges was just the fact that there's these big tornadoes and they're loud. Right. And they take up kind of different sonic ranges. And the fact that we wanted the music to not be like big bad wolf kind of thing, but that the actual storms are intelligent and clever, and they're awe-inspiring, and you have to respect them. And so the music had to say a lot, but kind of work within these big, giant sounds. So what I actually ended up doing, and when I started writing, I kind of kept doing things that would clash with the storm, and so I just simply thought, why don't we actually analyze the sound of each scene, the actual sound of the storm, and we'll put it through a scope, and we can see the EQ curve and get a kind of a graphic of it, and then kind of pick what instruments and what range and what key can play at different times. When the storm's really close, it tends to be in this range, and when it's a little bit further away, it's a little bit more like this. And so I completely wrote the entire score around the sonic range of the storm's EQ output.
Right.
And so the different keys and things that I use throughout the movie is constantly changing, and instruments are changing, and ranges, using a lot of brass, but still writing. So it's kind of a technical obstacle kind of set in front of you right at the beginning. But then at the same time, you have to write this really emotional music, because it's the story of a father and a son, and there's all this tragedy in it, and all sorts of different things happening. So you're constantly kind of, bobbing and weaving. So I would say it's probably the most challenging technically to compose. And it was for a large orchestra. I'm really happy with it. It's one of my favorites.
Oh, very cool. All right, can't wait. When does that come out? Do you know?
I believe it comes out next summer. I think in the beginning of August, the very beginning of August. But
great.
Yeah.
And one of our other listeners had a question. Well, first of all, sort of, what is your favorite score? Do you have like a favorite score or a favorite composer who inspired you? Or there's a few that come to mind, but I always tend to think of Vertigo and The Empire Strikes Back. Oh, very cool. Yeah, good choices.
So, those are very different, but I play them to death, and they're for different reasons. They're just fantastic, and just enjoyable, both as music and how well it works to picture. I mean, neither of those films work without those scores, and certainly any of the Star Wars, but Empire happens to be my favorite.
Right, of course, yeah. And okay. Well, look, thanks ever so much. Just one last question is just with a schedule as ridiculous as yours, and several huge movies and 2 TV shows and so on. How do you keep it all separate, and how hard is it to kind of keep it all new and fresh? How difficult is it to kind of separate that, or do you find it? Is that something that comes naturally to you?
I've definitely built up a kind of resistance to the schedule where I can write under duress. I'm like composing under duress. This is constant. And the thing that makes it the bright side of it is for me, the fact that the subject matter changes really quickly throughout the year as I've gone from one project to the next is why it keeps it fresh. I mean, going from Iron Man 3 to Now You See Me, they couldn't have been more different, and they were right on top of each other. Then Thor was right on top of it. And then so the fact that you're kind of doing different things at the same time. I was doing Assassin's Creed at one point there during that time, and that was like gypsy music, pirate music kind of thing. So they just are different enough that I can kind of compartmentalize them in my mind, and it keeps it fresh, even though you're getting murdered on the schedule.
Yeah, exactly. No, I looked at your IMDb. My mind was blown. I mean, I do a little bit of music, but I couldn't figure out how you would come up with the great scores you do. Well, look, thanks, Brian. Thanks ever so much for being on the show. It's been absolutely fantastic, and glad we could come do it. So, and keep
no doubt
doing what you do, man. It's really great. We love your love your music, and
Thank you so much. Well, we'll talk soon, man. Let's keep in touch.
Yeah, I'd like to, man. Definitely, I'd like to. Let's talk again in the future.
We'll do it.
All right.
Bye,
man. Bye.
Till then. Bye-bye.
And you can find more information about how to stream and purchase Brian's music, as well as upcoming film projects, etc., 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 over at briantyler.com. Please do search it out and have a look. There's a lot of his music on the site, as well as some great information, photographs, and various other stuff. Check it out, briantyler.com. And now, I saw Thor 2. And I came out of Thor 2 and I was like, dang it, I want to talk about this movie. Like, I want to geek out on this movie. Yeah. And, the wife and I geeked out on it. Like, we both liked the movie, so we had a good chat about it. But I was like, when are we going to do this again? Like, when are Dave and I going to get together to do Marvel movies again? Because, we're going to do the Spider-Man thing, and and then we'll have Guardians of the Galaxy and some other stuff. But like, when are we going to do like the Thor, Captain America movies again? We're not, I'm not going to wait till Avengers 2 to do all that again. And I really want to talk about Thor 2 right now. And so I was like, that coupled with the week I've had led me here to have yourself on the show, sir.
Well, thank you. That's awesome, and I can completely understand that the instinct to walk out of Thor 2 and like to immediately want to geek out about it, because I had the same thing myself.
Okay, folks and folkettes, we're back here in the After Movie Diner for yet another episode, and I'm extraordinarily happy, honoured, pleased, excited, and my geek engine is well and truly revving to have back on the show once more, fount of all comic book knowledge and dear friend, Mr. David DeMoss. Hello, sir. Welcome back to the booths of the diner.
Well, thank you so much for having me again, John. And you know what keeps going through my head?
What's that, sir?
Where's my sandwich?
What have you ordered? So what would you like to order this evening in the After Movie Diner? What would be your diner food of choice? Let's say we've just come out of Thor 2.
If I could get myself a Philly cheesesteak, that would be just prime.
A Philly cheesesteak in New York. Well, I mean, you can do that. That's a thing. We could make that happen. That wouldn't be a problem.
You're closer to Philly than I am, at least. But actually, you should come to Portland. We get some pretty good ones out here myself.
Just 100 miles south or so from a certain place where they shot Twin Peaks, more or less.
Yes,
150 miles, something like that.
Oh yeah, we don't get that weird,
no.
But we're close. We're close.
But do you have places where you can get great pie? That's the important thing.
Oh my God, yes.
Good. Well, that's all you need, right?
I will get you pie.
Excellent. Yes. Excellent. Well, that's good. We have a standing.
We just won't tell the wife.
Yeah, it's good. Hey, man! As long as Sherilyn Fenn and prime Lara Flynn Boyle are propping up the joint, I'm there with bells on, dressed in like 1950s sweaters. Oh, yes.
I'll see what I can do about that.
Sorry, I just had a momentary geek out about Twin Peaks then.
Not a problem. Not a problem. It happens to the best of us.
It does. So what we're going to do this episode is, there's not one big theme. I guess it's the Marvel Roundup of 2013. That's kind of what we're covering.
And let me say, I am, I do actually very much like your tendency to wait on these things and to not have to instantly respond in the moment. And so that would allow us to take these in chunks,
right,
like
exactly.
discrete blocks. without the pressure of instantaneous reaction. Though obviously there's a reason why we're putting this out now instead of anywhere else because of the latest debut. But still, it's been out for like 2 weeks, and I didn't see it till Monday. But I've at least had some time to process, and I've been editing my episode on it all day, so I'll try not to repeat myself.
Oh, okay, fair enough. No, I think I saw it Monday or Tuesday, one of those 2 days that I saw Thor The Dark World. It's obviously not Thor2, it's Thor The Dark World.
But I'm just going to keep calling it Thor2 because that's a silly title.
Well, yes, indeed. But I mean, and it's odd because obviously Iron Man gets Iron Man 1, 2, and 3, but Captain America gets the first Avenger, and then Thor is getting the Dark World, and then the Winter Soldier is going to be Captain America 2. So yeah.
And that one at least actually makes sense because of reasons.
Right. Yes. Which we'll get to when Captain America 2
comes out, right? Which won't be till April, though. So by the same token, I'm glad that we get to, talk about these two now.
Well, this will probably be my last comic book episode of the year. This will round out 2013. And the three big things we're going to be talking about is Iron Man 3. Came out earlier in the year, which I've alluded to on Dr. Action in this show about like how I felt about it. So we don't need to spend hours on it, but we'll speak about Iron Man 3. We'll talk about the Marvel's first TV venture, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., briefly, and then we'll geek out on Thor 2 or Thor The Dark World. So that's our schedule anyway.
The Dark Void.
Yes.
The dark backward. Thor, the left hand of darkness. That's...
or Thor me of darkness.
Ooh, there we go. Ooh, I gotta make that little JPEG. Shit.
Or Loki of darkness, of course. You could have it as Loki of darkness if you didn't want to change it up. Because he is everywhere. But let's try not to get ahead of ourselves. Let's talk Iron Man 3, which I saw back in the summer. I saw it in Massachusetts, where I was shooting a quick cameo on Matt Farley's latest film, Local Legends, available now on YouTube. The commentary is also available on YouTube through the After Movie Diner. And Matt Farley was our guest last week on the show. So everything ties together. The winds of positivity are flowing all around us.
Why, John, are you saying you have a cameo in a film that is available for purchase now over the internet?
It's not available for purchase. It's available for free, nonetheless. And it's a very small cameo in a film called Local Legends, which is a black and white 74-minute film that Matt Farley, who does Freaky Farley, Murders, Monsters, and Marriage in Manch Vegas, and Don't Let the River Beast Get You, films that we have covered previously on the show. He is also a prolific and majestic songwriter. Has recently appeared on, as I said, the Diner episode and The Bone Zone, which is Brendan Walsh's podcast out in California. And, he did a film that is sort of it's a very clever take on the artistic versus commerce dilemma, while also being a kind of purposefully self-exposing Woody Allen-esque, but with a kind of odd, surreal Massachusetts twist to it, kind of Stardust Memories type thing. It's very interesting, very exciting, very cool.
Well, it sounds like a rip-roaring good time. That is also universal, at least to almost everyone who works in any facet of the entertainment industry.
Indeed, indeed. So I almost feel like I can't do a podcast now without mentioning Matt Farley, but I was up in the wonderful town of Danvers, Massachusetts, when I saw Iron Man 3, which I like to call Lethal Iron Man Weapon 3.
As well you should. It is the Shane Blackiest of all these Marvel movies to date.
Yes. Well, I mean, indeed, because it it was almost like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang was a failure, tragically so, because it's a great, great film. But Kiss Kiss Bang Bang was a failure, and the moment Robert Downey Jr. got any clout in the industry again, he was like, Shane, buddy, come back and do your thing, and let's get it to millions of people. And that's kind of what this is.
And let's make millions upon millions of dollars.
Right. Which the irony is that suddenly Shane Black is a huge commodity again, and they'll probably be falling over themselves. Whereas as great as it is, and as much as I love Shane Black, and I hope he makes a million more Kiss Kiss Bang Bangs or Lethal Weapons or whatever he wants to do.
Or Last Kiss is Good Night.
Last Kiss is Good Night, of course. The truth of the matter is that if it's got Marvel up the front, if it's one of the Avengers movies, and if it doesn't, suck too hard, it's going to be a huge fucking success. So.
True. Even more so if they film extra scenes specifically for release in the Chinese market.
Right, exactly, yeah.
And if they put the whole thing in 3D, because China only allows like 34 foreign films per year, and 14 of those have to be in 3D. They just have to be.
Nice, isn't it?
Yeah. If you ever, next time you're wondering why you're watching some shitty post-conversion of a film that obviously wasn't meant for 3D, that would be why.
Yes, indeed.
Just for everyone's information. And watching Iron Man 3 now for like the third time, I finally caught the Chinese Heart Doctor in the prologue. Yes. He's on screen for like a half second. He's the guy Jensen is trying to introduce to drunk Tony. But if you blink, you miss it. And I blinked those first two times.
Yes. But no, I picked this up on Blu-ray when it came out as well. So I have the nice Blu-ray 3D edition. So I have all the bells and whistles. And it's a great Blu-ray. I definitely suggest people go out and get it. What would your take? Because me, you know that I love the balls to the wall 90s action silliness. You know that I'm already, my ticket was bought and paid for the moment the words Shane Black were announced.
Got a lot of apologies to make.
Nothing's been the same since New York. You experience things, and then they're over. I can't sleep. And when I do, I have nightmares. Honestly, there's 100 people who want to kill me. I hope I can protect the one thing I can't live without.
Call me a terrorist. I consider myself a teacher. Lesson number 1. Heroes. There is no such thing.
But you yourself, sir, you're slightly more discerning. What were your feelings on Iron Man 3?
It was, it was better than Iron Man 2. Thank Christ.
Well, everything's been better. I mean, everything apart from the Hulk movies have been better than Iron Man 2, more or less.
Well, yeah. But with this one, I was especially, that was my primary concern going in. And to get there and to, even before we got there, we were fascinated. I say we, I mean all of my comic book fans. We were fascinated. Our tickets were bought by the presence of the Mandarin, right. The fact that
I see,
and the fact that they got Ben Kingsley to play him was just like icing on the cake. Because it's Ben fucking Kingsley. I mean, right. Shit. You call a Brit, and it kind of Mandarin is one of those interesting characters. He's been very plastic throughout his 40-plus year history for obvious reasons. I mean, he started off as a bald-faced yellow peril stereotype, and every writer that gets a hold of him since has tried to, like, edge away from that somehow while still kind of keeping the details in check, or they've completely given up and just said, fuck it. So I going in, I knew that was either going to go one of two ways. So, and this hopefully will surprise you, I did not have the instantaneous negative reaction that so many of my brethren and sisterin did to the final reveal of the Mandarin's true nature in about 2/3 of the way through this movie.
Yeah.
My real criticisms for it would be just on the basis of pure technical stuff, like, well, not even that, just like technical story stuff. As usual, the villain plot in these, and this has been true for most of these Marvel movies, I think, as usual, the villain plot is really kind of lame. I mean, the plot itself amounts to, is Iron Man a bad enough dude to save the president? And any movie that I could sum up with a bad 80s video game reference is, it's obviously going to be a little down there.
The thing they had to do, though, with Iron Man 3, what they've clearly done with these movies, and it, like you say, it shines through in the weakness of the villain each time, is they are telling Tony's story. They are telling Tony's story, and I liked the way that the third one, through all its, action movie nods, through all its... What was clever about it was, in order to tell the story of Tony the Man again, rather than Tony the Iron Man, Shane Black is almost perfect for it, because if Shane Black makes a movie, he doesn't want a lot of CGI, and he doesn't want people running around in suits. He wants, like, guys. You know what I mean? He wants, like, guys doing stuff. So
Indeed.
It's almost like...
The more unclothed, the better.
Right.
And sweaty.
So it's more what is hilarious about it is that the 90s action movie-ness that Shane Black brings to the project actually also helps to inform Tony Stark's journey in terms of get him out of the suit, get him back to what is it that made Tony great in the first place. Because, we're going to that line in the Avengers, take away your iron armor and what the hell are you? And I know, like, he has that, witty comeback.
Genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist. But then what I really like about that is Captain America's response to it, which is, I know guys with none of that worth 10 of you.
Right. And the whole movie and the genius of the Tony Stark through line through Iron Man 1, not so much Iron Man 2, the Avengers. Half of 2, right. Yeah. Half of 2, the Avengers, and then Iron Man 3, which also, let's be fair, has to be a sequel to the Avengers in some regard. Just like a lot of those ones before the Avengers had to be clear prequels to it.
Well, they didn't have to be. No. I wouldn't make a normative claim like that.
They chose to be then.
Yes, there we go. Yeah, that's better.
But just to finish the through line is that the fact that they managed to do that while also having a shit ton of fun, and while also basically making Marvel's answer to a 90s action movie, just in the same way that when we get onto it later, Thor 2 to some extent is Marvel's answer to a Lord of the Rings movie, or a Game of Thrones, or whatever you want to, like, that fantasy element.
Indeed, yes, indeed.
What I like about it is that Marvel are playing with genres, and Marvel is taking, or seemingly openly taking, chances rather than doing the play it safe, keep him in the suit, have him face, mere doppelgangers of himself type, ongoing, tedious plot lines. You know what I
which
mean?
which was part of 2's problem.
Right. Sorry, I will now let you have the floor again, David.
No, you're fine. But yeah, because you're absolutely right. In the say what you want about Iron Man 2, but he called back then he called the armor like a prosthetic, and which is wrong because that real prosthetic is that glowy thing in his chest, right?
Right.
And so the plot of 3 is all about him facing up against this guy who, at least at one point wanted to make prosthesis a thing of the past, right? Vestigial, redundant. And so with this thing, extremis, I mean, it just happens to make you explode. And so through dealing with that, Tony learns that he no longer needs any of his prosthetics. That the Iron Man is not that what was inside him, the necessary to become Iron Man, was not something that he found in a cave in a box of scraps. It was already present. He just couldn't express it with his rich asshole lifestyle that he led. But now he can, because some asshole has gone and turned his life into a Shane Black movie. So everything's getting, everything's blowing up, and there's a terrorist after him, and everybody getting kidnapped and tortured.
Right.
All sorts of kidnapping and torturing up in here, and that ameliorates my one ethical complaint with the whole movie, which is that after 3 films, if we count Avengers, Pepper, unfortunately, is finally reduced to the damsel in distress role that I feared she would always be. But then again, it's a Shane Black movie, so everybody getting kidnapped up in here.
Right.
So
and
okay.
To be fair, there is, in the best possible way, a Whedon-esque twist to Pepper's story in terms of, fuck it, let's make everyone in this cast a superhero. You know what I mean?
It's about fucking time, really.
Right.
I mean, they also give Rhodey something awesome to do before the end of the movie. And most of his awesome shit takes place outside of the armor, which, that goes along with your thesis on Shane Black.
Dude, the last scene...
Right.
The last scene takes place down at the docks, right? Which is like 90s action movie 101. It's either warehouse or it's the docks. Right?
Or an oil rig, right?
Or an oil rig,
or battleship. Yeah, something like that.
Right. And...
Big and industrial, lots of catwalks, lots of pipes.
Right.
And there's 2 guys sneaking around making... one's making cracks and he's kind of crazy. And the other one's a professional. Yeah.
I mean, if it's not... If they're not Riggs and Murtaugh in the last 20 minutes of this movie, and I'm not just talking about the ethnicity, I'm talking about the character and everything and what they're doing.
Yes, absolutely.
I don't know who he is. Now, what, again, he does, which is really clever, is he gives the CGI 3D heads enough whiz-bangery to keep them all happy. There's multiple suits and blah, 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 blah. But really,
yes.
people...
that climax is, that is some grade A suit porn, which
right.
Not just the 3D heads. That is there for all we actual Iron Man fans,
right?
Because his Tony's tinkering, as he calls it, is a major draw to keep you coming back month to month.
Yeah, you see, but I think that for what's good about it is it gives, like you say, the people who want all that suit stuff enough, while he also manages to give the action fans who are there to see a Shane Black, Robert Downey Jr. movie enough stuff for us to look at as well. It's a fantastic balancing act, that last scene. And to be fair, the only argument I have with the whole film, the only problem I have with the whole film is that all the twists and turns, because there's plenty of moments in this movie where, he wasn't really in the suit. It was a
lot twist, yeah.
It was a remote control suit. But there's lots of moments where that happens, and those twists are done very nicely. But the twist about Tony having 40 other suits, That was so heavy-handedly done. You saw them in the first 5 minutes of the movie. You know they're coming back. And although they blow up Tony Stark's mansion, you know they don't blow up the secret underground lair with the 40 suits in it because you just saw them. So
yes, indeed.
I didn't get the whole big
reveal. And to make matters worse, you saw them all at the end of every single fucking trailer.
Right,
so
exactly.
I don't think that was ever intended to be a surprise to like anyone.
Right.
I think it was intended as a major selling point. The only surprise is for me was that there was nobody in each and every single one of those fuckers. But of course, if there's not, then again it reinforces the entire story theme and also pleasing the story nerds because the suits they're disposable, right? They're vestigial, redundant. They're prehensile. You don't need them anymore.
They're Jarvis is what they are. Paul Bettany is in each of one of them. It's essentially. What I like about it as well is obviously there's some casting nods. My boy William Sadler is obviously in there as the president. He's a good old 90s action actor or character actor who popped up in action movies in the 90s. Good to see him in it.
Vice President Miguel Ferrer.
Yeah, Miguel Ferrer. I mean,
yeah, that was great. I saw him. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, and not only that, but of course, evil Vice President Miguel Ferrer, because you can't have Miguel Ferrer in an action movie and him be the good guy. You just can't.
No, it's never happened. No, gosh. Even Bob Morton sniffed coke off Hooker's tits.
Right, exactly.
Not that there was anything wrong with that.
So that was pleasurable. I had to get a nod in there because obviously we were very lucky to have an interview with Sadler earlier on in the year, and what a gentleman, what a legend. And I don't know about yourself, sir, but I hope they bring him back again and again and again. I hope he at least gets some Avengers 2 cash.
He becomes you think he should be, do you think this Marvel Universe should be under the Sadler administration? I would not be opposed to that at all, actually.
I mean, why not? I mean, he's in Iron Man 3, to be fair, he's presented as a little ineffectual as a president. So
but
maybe
that works perfectly well in a superhero universe because what the fuck else are they going to do?
Right, exactly.
If the president can solve shit.
But all I'm saying is that I want Sadler to get some of that sweet, sweet Marvel coin, and the more movies they can crowbar him into, the better. Plus, it keeps up their beloved continuity that they that I have to say in Thor 2 they do a very good job of scrabbling around and trying to tie up the whole. Sorry, how did Thor get down to Earth for Avengers again? They did a very good job of doing that. Thor 2, which we'll get on to later. Any favorite bits in Iron Man 3?
Yes, unfortunately, you made the mistake of mentioning continuity, and mentioning that to a comic book fan, it's like putting blood in the water, because that would be the real major technical problem I have with Iron Man 3. At least during the last third of the movie, the first 2/3, I was rolling along happy as a clam, just fine. But by the time you get to the vice president's, plot to team up with a terrorist to assassinate the president, I'm starting to wonder, this is kind of Captain America's detail. Where the hell is he in all of this?
Right.
Honestly, that would be question one. And then we find out, that that this whole movie has been framed as a flashback. And Tony is telling or trying to tell to Dr. Bruce Banner, and I'm wondering, okay, where the hell has he been this whole time? I mean, it'd be real convenient to have a Hulk sleeping on your couch if you call out a terrorist mastermind on live TV in front of the hospital where your comatose friend is staying.
What I would argue, though, I mean, surely because they've done this in comic books, they've had, they have the Avengers comic books, but then they also have the Iron Man comic books, and they have the Hulk comic books and whatever. And sometimes the Hulk, joins forces with other people and other things in the Marvel universe that isn't the Avengers. And sometimes, I understand the argument. Because at the end of the day, it's like at the...
It's not even really an argument. This is just the things that go through my head.
Right. The argument is like, what bad threat could any single one of them face that they couldn't just pick up the phone and say, excuse me, Captain, and excuse me, Hulk, could you come down here and help me out? You know what I mean? If they've defeated Loki and a swarm of intergalactic, alien beasties, really, then anything should be fair game. And I'm saying that they're going to get to a point, and it'll be interesting to see Phase 3, Phase 4, Phase 5, if we even get there, to see sort of what villains they can throw at these guys that they can't just dust off their shoulders with gay abandon,
Or to see where they go after dusting them off with
right.
gay abandon. We comic book nerds have some idea of whom they're going to be facing, but as well, Iron Man 3, for example, tells us our ideas of what these characters are and what they'll be on screen are not always correct. More often than not, they're not. Right. So I'm just wondering where the hell everybody is. I just want like one throwaway line as some kind of an excuse.
Oh, you mean like maybe the line in the Avengers where they say about Natalie Portman? They go, "Oh, she's off at some facility somewhere."
Yes. Natalie, and it shows her head on the screen, like, "Sir, not appearing in this film."
Right.
And then in the sequel, suddenly, we're in London now, which tells me that, yes, they are running these things very much in the same vein that the comic book company would run continuity, in that it's continuity that I feel the need to put sarcastic air quotes around.
Right, because at the end of the day, it's about the story of the main character. That's right. What they're focusing on. And what's interesting is that they're completely, thank God. Like, for people like us who like character and like script and like acting and like directing, the fact that they're giving all of these to like different directors, interesting directors, they're writing them in such a way that each of them have their own vibe, their own feel, that each of the characters get to tell their individual stories. That's fascinating and great. And also within keeping with the beauty of comic books. Like, the beauty of comic books is not necessarily the villain of the week or the villain of the series or the villain of the whatever. The beauty of comic books is the length of time they get to tell the character's story and what they can put characters through. And, the Marvel movies, the more successful ones out of the bunch are the ones that have a clear idea and a clear focus of where their character is going. And rightly or wrongly, they've done very well in over 3.5 movies telling Tony's story with, as a viewer, I think, pinpoint clarity, with a lot of great scenes, a lot of great dialogue, and a lot of great moments. And I can't really ask much more of my comic book movies than that, to be honest.
I perfectly agree with that. And I would add the corollary that I actually prefer cinematic Tony Stark a hell of a lot more than his two-dimensional counterpart.
Right.
He's got less blood on his hands, for one thing.
Yes, they come. Well, they gloss
much more
over
personable.
the whole.
And since he's gotten popular, his comic book counterpart has gotten significantly less dickish, which I know would seem anathema to Tony Stark, but you have no idea how bad this could have gotten, how fast. We really lucked out here with the Iron Man series.
It's just odd if you think about it that a guy who was dragged through hell and back by the media and by newspapers and whatever because of his drug issues and prison issues, which I never had a problem with, but the media and so on did.
You got to sell papers,
right? Coupled with a guy whose, let's be fair, most famous movie was Swingers, like a little indie movie from about 10 or 15 years ago, or whenever that was, and a guy, Joss Whedon, who had all of his series cancelled, and the most recent one sort of tragically cancelled before it even made the end of the first season. And these three people, more than any other three people, have been responsible for a lot, 90% of the great shit that's come out of Marvel in the last 5 years.
I would add the name Kevin Feige to that list, but he's a producer, so you don't see him very often. But
I know that there are, like there was behind the Spider-Man movies and behind this. I know that there is Marvel heads who are producing and
but
creative
in this
and
case,
so on.
in the case of the continuity that begins with Iron Man and everything after that, we can really pin it down to one dude, and his name is Kevin Feige. He used to be the head of the toy line in the 90s, which means he was the guy basically keeping the doors open at Marvel during their lean years. And he just got himself kicked upstairs and became the more or less liaison between the office in New York and Hollywood, first at Paramount and now at Disney.
But you see, the good thing he has done, which I think all good producers should do, and the reason why I'm talking up Downey Jr., to some extent Jon Favreau, but more so Downey Jr., is that, Iron Man 3 is Iron Man 3 is Iron Man 3. Make no mistake, because of Robert Downey and Susan Downey. And the pull and the sway and the power and the ideas and everything else that they've been able to get because of the success of the first two and the success of the Avengers. And he has used it. Yes, he's being paid vast sums of money, and I know there's a whole bitch about that behind the scenes, but he has, to his credit, used it, his creative power, in my opinion, in great ways, and none more so than Iron Man 3, partnering with someone who was a big part, not a Mel Gibson-sized part, and I hate to give Mel Gibson any credit, but if you want...
But still,
if you want to give Downey Jr., if anyone is looking at Downey Jr. going, oh man, what a recovery, you've got Gibson. 10 years ago, you've got Gibson, and you owe him fucking props, because without Gibson, Downey Jr. doesn't get hired for about 5 years.
Indeed. And hell,
and his wife, and Susan Downey. You've got to give her a huge credit from being, from him being in Gothica onwards. Like, she really ferreted his career into the right areas and the right arenas, and bless her too. But Downey Jr. has used it this very creative way, and he's getting Shane Black in there, and. Yeah, maybe egotistically, but also to the benefit of the fans, telling Tony's story the way they have. I couldn't be happy, and certainly after Iron Man 2, and that's why Kevin Feige seems like a decent guy. He's like, look, we've got good people on board. What more do I need to know? I can either stand in the way of this thing or stand to the side and let it happen. And I think that's what a good producer has to do. A good producer, as much as he can say, okay, look, the overall image of Marvel and blah, blah, blah has to be maintained, and we have to keep this story going towards this so that it links up with that. Yes, he's got all that to do with Joss Whedon and ferrying it through into the Phase 2 and Phase 3, but...
And now James Gunn, and now whoever they're going to hire for, whatever.
But Whedon is now, like, in Camp Marvel. Like, Whedon is directing behind the scenes a ton of these things. Even if he's not writing them directly or directing them directly, a lot of storylines are now flowing through him and Kevin Feige and other people. But, it's... What is nice about it, though, is instead of it being a dictatorship with a couple of guys at the top who are saying, no, it just has to be done this way, and them getting just sort of shitty hack directors to kind of... I know your opinions have gone, but I'm saying they're not going to... They're sticking with the Favreau, Raimi, Jackson mold of, let's get these guys who are...
young up-and-comers.
Well, not so young up-and-comers, but like interesting directors, as opposed to just some schlub that like directed some Bond movie or directed some fucking generic action piece of shit, like The Immortals or something. Let's put whoever did that in charge or whatever. They're not doing that. They're not going what I like to call the Luc Besson route, because Luc Besson produces all these French movies, and he gets like Olivier Megaton and fucking those people to direct them. They're actually going full hog and getting interesting people behind the scenes, and to their credit and to their benefit. That's all I'm saying.
Indeed, and I'd agree with that as well. Yes, I mean, I never would have thought that I'd get any kind of comic book movie directed by Shane Black say nothing of an Iron Man movie, and it seems the perfect fit in retrospect.
For this story, I don't think
Now
Shane
another-
Black could go on and tell other stories, but for this story, I think it's the perfect fit.
Oh, absolutely. And it would have to be. I mean, I can't even think of an Iron Man 3 divorced from the Shane Black vision of being set at Christmas time. And
Oh, yeah, the Christmas time
Lots of
setting. It was so funny.
double crosses.
Yeah, halfway through the movie, I was suddenly like... I couldn't believe I didn't notice it, but halfway through the movie, it suddenly walloped me in the head, and I was like, it's at a Christmas, that's so awesome, and I suddenly got a huge kick out of the fact that Shane Black did that, because there's no need to do it, but it's just so wonderfully Shane Black. That
Indeed.
It's
Oh,
just
I'm
great.
telling you, man. I saw that. I was like, oh, yeah. I know who we're working with here. Yeah, now you're cooking with Black. Mm-hmm.
It's like when you first saw the classic, Raimi's classic car was Uncle Ben's car, and then it got involved in a car chase during Spider-Man 1. You were just like, it's the Evil Dead car in a massive blockbuster, having a car chase with Spider-Man. You know, this was obviously before Raimi committed the cardinal sin, so it's fine. And
It's
yeah,
still fine. Because the emotion holds true.
Yeah, my hair
no
on the
matter-
back of my neck was just like, it's the fucking classic, man, with Spider-Man in a car chase. How awesome is that?
Indeed. And in this case, yes, Shane Black's directing an Iron Man movie.
What was your feeling on the kid thing? The whole kid
I was afraid.
storyline.
I was afraid you were gonna. I was afraid you might ask about Haley, not Joel Osmond.
Right.
I don't know. He was okay. I'm like, he gives Tony good setups. That's pretty much what you could say the same of all of the supporting cast. But
Well, what's interesting is they cut that whole, although he does mention it in the final movie, they cut the whole bullying thing, because there was a whole bit where the bully that has been bullying him shows up when the water tower melts and demolishes, and Haley has to save him, and Downey has to save the bully that's been bullying him, and there's this whole thing, and they cut all that out, thankfully. Because who gives a
I
shit?
had not. That's interesting. I wonder why. Oh, because it would have completely killed the pace of Act 2. That would be why.
That's entirely why. The only thing with the kid storyline that I was like, is the fact that at the end, the Iron Man suit is suddenly built again. When did that happen? And did the kid do it? And who did it? And how did they do it? And when? Because Tony seems to spend most of his time in Bedford Falls. I'm going to call it Bedford Falls. He spends most of his time in Bedford Falls fighting with glowy women in diners, or like, saving people from falling water towers. I don't remember him spending... I know he goes to the supermarket and buys up a lot of stuff, but I don't remember him, actually doing any work on the suit.
Yeah, because that's all. Well, no, the suit was just out of juice because it had to fly all the way from California to Tennessee while he was passed out from.
But it was also destroyed.
Well, a building fell on it. That's not really destroyed.
And it had been in the ocean and everything else.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but that was just one house, not even the whole house, just half the house fell on it.
There was a huge in Act 3. There was a huge leap of logic in order to get from Tony being kidnapped to Tony being able to summon the suit hundreds of miles away. There was a huge leap in logic where you're just meant to go, okay, it's an Iron Man suit, fine, let's presume he can do that and move on.
One would hope you'd have satellite link up to those things that you implant in your arms that see this is the difference between you and me. I just glossed right over that one. I'm like, whatever.
Yeah, okay, fair
and
enough.
It's a nice image, all the pieces in the armor flying out of the kid's barn. I'm more concerned about, what kid has a barn? Their own garage barn?
Well, no, that's believable within that area, within that.
All his is that just all his though? Where's mom? We never see her. What? Is she eventually going to like?
Doesn't he have troublesome parents or trouble with his parents or they don't understand?
Dad left to get scratchers 6 years ago. He's supposed to have a mom and a little sister. We never see either one of them.
Well, that's why he can take over the barn. And I'm not being sexist here, but what's the mum and the little sister doing in a barn?
Right. She's at work and
as the man of the house that he can have the barn, right?
And somewhere else, right?
I don't mean to be sexist, but that is the case. So.
Oh, yeah, and it's not important anyway, because the sooner we get out of Tennessee, the sooner we can get on with the actual plot, which, of course, takes us to Miami, where it doesn't really... Another place where it won't really matter that it's Christmas.
Right. But the other thing that I also... The scene that I love in Miami more than anything is his raid on the house using Christmas ornaments. That is genius.
And the glove, the power glove.
The power glove that he's made out of like some coat hangers and metal chain of armor. I don't know what it is, but it's great. And I also love the fact that when they storm the complex, he's carrying around a car battery attached to the suit.
Yeah, it's Tony Stark as James Bond.
Yeah. But it's great. It's like it's innovative and interesting.
Bond movies, shit.
Anything's better than Craig as James Bond. But no, Craig is better than Brosnan. But
indeed.
No. Brosnan was a better Bond. He got worse movies. Craig has had better movies, but is a worse Bond. If that makes any sense.
It does, but I'd still say that's unnecessarily hair-splitting. But I'd still take any Iron Man movie over all of them, hands down, any day.
Not over all of them, not over anything featuring T. Dalton.
I'll take that over anything featuring Scarlett Johansson, actually.
But she's in your Avengers.
Okay.
And soon to be in Winter Soldier.
That's true.
Because sadly, they haven't done what we suggested. Do you remember back on the Avengers episode, we said that they should take Black Widow and they should take Hawkeye and they should do little, like, groovy, independent, one-off movies for them. Not big blockbusters.
Really should.
But little groovy, personal story, no CGI, tell them...
have all the CGI you want. I don't give a fuck. Just as long as they're spy-fi. Because that's what those two do best. Right. Though recently Hawkeye's moved into the Russian neighborhood of New York, and he's started doing more street-level justice fighting in his book. And it's gone to some interesting places, so maybe do that. Shit.
I do have to say that the whole little bit of point, because this was 2013 Marvel news, so I can bring it up. But Jeremy Renner bitching that Hawkeye wasn't the character he wanted him to be in the Avengers. Renner, shut up and cash your fucking check. You're in the fucking Avengers. You turned up in Thor for 30 seconds. We're perfectly happy to do that. So what are you bitching about? Oh, I walked around as a zombie. That was part of the plot, dude. Do you think Skarsgård was whinging? I did not like it. I was walking around as a zombie. Skarsgård was just like, fuck it, I'm going to cash the check and go back to Iceland or wherever he's from.
He at least is used to working with Lars von Trier, where you walk around like a zombie the whole movie. Anyway,
don't say those three words.
I'd say, yeah, right. I've found your kryptonite. No, I'd say that Jeremy actually has a perfectly fine point, and that he should keep shooting his mouth off about it until they give him his own goddamn movie.
Well, they should give him his own goddamn movie. That's agreed. That's no argument with me there. But if that's the story that the Avengers had to tell, that's the Avengers. He's still got to run around on rooftops in New York City firing arrows like a cool motherfucker. Like, he didn't miss out on all the good shit. That's what I'm saying. And he got his weepy, meaningful scene with fucking Johansson. So, like, we can't go around, the first act. Okay, the first act, nobody did anything. So stop talking. Like, the first act is all set up. Shut up. By the second act, where the Hulk is running around and you're fighting Widow and all the rest of it, you're back in the fray. Stop complaining. Seriously.
Well, in the first act, though, he got to pull a straight up heist.
Right.
Completely.
Exactly. He got to hang out with Loki and his boys.
Thing, and that fucking eye scanner thing. That,
sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he. All I'm saying is, I don't want to hear people who get to be actors in Avengers movies. I don't want to hear anyone complaining. That's all I'm saying. Now, in terms of paying them and the pay disparity and all the rest of it, then I'm totally on the side of everyone should be more or less getting the same kind of deal.
Right.
However,
and I'd heard Downey used his newfound powers in order to swing that deal for his fellow cast members.
I heard that he was holding out on Iron Man 4 and
6.
Avengers 2 based on that, but I have not heard that they've definitively come back and agreed to pay them any more.
Well, I doubt that they would. I doubt that anyone would make that news public. Jesus. That wouldn't benefit anyone politically, now would it?
No, but Downey, as far as Downey, and that's the other genius thing, and we'll round off our talk on Iron Man 3 here. But the other genius thing about the end of Iron Man 3 is it is Downey going, there you go, there's your trilogy, there's your lot, I can walk away from this and I never have to come back. But equally, he can come back and he can come back and be Iron Man again. But at the same time, he can leave at the end of Iron Man 3 and never have to be back as Iron Man again. Because it's done. He's told his story. We move on. And that's the genius of the way they did it.
And they can back a truckload of money up to his house, which is probably what they'll do.
But I mean, he wants them to back a truckload of money up to the other Avengers' houses. That's what he wants.
Indeed,
if what he said is to be believed.
And that's a damn fine thing he's doing, which I completely salute. And yes, and the end of the movie, let me tell you, because of the way it ended, caused no end of confusion among the comic book fans, at least in my circle of friends. I got it in one, but everybody else was like, so is he no longer Iron Man anymore? Is the things out of his chest? What the hell? And I'm like, dude, it's metatextual politics. You got to deal with this shit now. That there's like $1 billion at stake every year. So yeah, this is how it's going to be from now on. Boy.
Right, the suit can still have it in though. It doesn't have to be powered by his heart.
Oh hell, and Don Cheadle will certainly, I'm sure, sign up to be in Avengers 2 should they call upon him.
Right.
He should get his own fucking movie too. I always loved War Machine for various reasons. But let's see. Besides that,
any further points on Iron Man 3 before we leap into Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Nope. That's about it. Decent movie. Yeah.
Decent movie. Yeah, I give it a 4 out of 5. I loved it. I thought it was great. Nice to see Shane Black. There are some things that I wouldn't have done. I think the middle is a little sloppy. I think that the kid thing is a little odd. But I'm liking that. We'll get on this with Thor 2 as well, but I'm liking that Marvel's kind of having a bit of fun. Like, they're kind of doing a bunch of different stuff. I don't mind that. If you're taking the odd risk, if some pay off and some don't, I'd rather that than just, no, our focus group said this plays well, so we're going to do this. I'd much rather what they're doing than the alternative,
Well, that's the beauty of a shared superhero universe in that it can literally contain everything, every genre, any color you like, take it or leave it. You got your spy-fi over here, you got your high fantasy over there. You got your, whatever you want. You got it.
Oh, and I will say one thing, and I'll say this definitively. I will take the Iron Man trilogy, even with the sloppy second one. I will take the Iron Man trilogy over Nolan's Batman trilogy any day of the week. Sorry, guys, but I will.
I accept your apology.
Because the Nolan Batman trilogy, there's one great film, one average film, and one terrible film. Whereas in the Iron Man series, there are 2 great films and 1 mistake.
Your show.
So that's what I think. Because I'm sorry, man, Dark Knight Rises. Ugh.
Well, it's okay. You can be wrong. It's fine.
I'm not wrong. But, and you're not wrong, because we're just opinionated, so it doesn't matter. And opinions are just that. So no one's wrong. And that's the beauty of the diner. Let's move on to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., or as I've taken to call it, Agents of...
For years, the truth was hidden. People from other times, other worlds, heroes. But now we know. They're among us.
What does SHIELD stand for, Agent Ward?
Strategic Homeland Intervention, Enforcement, and Logistics Division.
And what does that mean to you?
It means someone really wanted our initials to spell out SHIELD. I'm clearance level 6. I know that Agent Coulson was killed in action before the Battle of New York.
Welcome to level 7.
What is that?
That's a superhero, Agent Ward. We work the cases SHIELD hasn't classified. The strange, the unknown. It's not just spy versus spy anymore. The whole world's in on the action.
You're in danger.
What do you mean danger?
SHIELD.
I should carry a shield?
SHIELD. Government. Scary men in dark suits who come after guys like you.
Is that who I think it is?
She's just the pilot.
Melinda May is just the pilot. Fitzsimmons?
Fitz.
Simmons. I'm engineering. She's biochem.
It's not of this earth.
We will rise against those who shield us from the truth, and nothing can stop us in the... Hey.
There are 2 ways we can do this.
Oh, it's one of them the easy way.
No.
Not exactly a team player.
We're not exactly a team, but we're in a position to do some good. I've seen giants. The good ones are not heroes because of what they have. It's what they do with it. We're not the only ones interested in people with powers. Only take the shot if you have to.
We have a couple of hours at most. There's no way that we could
Don't ever tell me there's no way. Don't touch Lola.
Do we have to? Because yeah, but
okay. What?
If you were looking for a spirited defense of someone's of something, then you're not going to get it out of me because it's network TV. What the fuck do you expect? I'm like,
You know what I expected? I expected.
I know what you. Yes, I know what you expected. But tell the people. Yes,
okay. I expected that with a setup that is basically a bunch of disparate loners on a flying ship, right? Mm. Going around the periphery of our earthly daily lives, solving little conundrums and doing little X-File-y type things on the side. I expected Whedon to go, you know what, here's my opportunity to... Now, I'm not going to cast it the same way, but here's my opportunity to do what I do best and do a Firefly, Buffy-type ensemble cast going around and having lots of fun and lots of japes with lots of interesting... dark twists and turns, and lots of character points, and lots of, intriguing plot lines, and everything that he does, seemingly in everything else, fantastically well, even on network television. As rocky as Buffy's ever-changing channel road was on when it was first screened, and as rocky as his relationship became with Fox, he always could, even in the most difficult of circumstances, do great work. So why, when he's handed the fucking reins and the keys to the... I know he can't have, fucking sex or swear words or too much gore or anything like that, but fuck, when did interesting characters need any of that? He can do a shit ton on network TV with some decent writing, and I think Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is the classic... result of 2 major problems. 1, Whedon being stretched way too thin by Marvel, and 2, nepotism. Because as much as we love Whedon, there's no evidence that his brother and his brother's wife can write for fucking anybody. So there's no evidence.
To say nothing of the name that stands out to me in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.'s, cast and crew is Jeff Loeb, whom is a comic book writer of dubious quality.
Right.
He has a couple of great Batman collections under his belt, available in finer bookstores. But everything he's done since has been it's been a roller coaster. He's all over the map, this fucking guy. He was one of the people most primarily responsible for Heroes, if that tells you anything.
Right.
So, and yes, he is, yeah. But
you see, to me, that says to me, Heroes, that was a thing where it was cancelled, right?
Indeed.
Right,
after several seasons, though, it had a decent long run. And before that, Loeb, and he really crashed and burned in my eyes by being responsible for, he was the supervising producer on Smallville.
Right.
Which,
I don't have any of that baggage with him, but I believe what you say and I accept what you say. So, but you see, I just see, I think everyone was like, yeah, Whedon's doing another TV series, only this time he's going to get the fucking keys to the kingdom. And I think we're all duped in that. That clearly wasn't what Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was. He was there at the beginning. He was the face of it. He did the first episode. And then he went, bye, brother. I'm off to do whatever other 500 things I've got to do for Marvel. Work out what Avengers 2 is going to be and so on.
He's smart, yeah.
Right. And so... the problem is, and I absolutely hate to say this. But Clark Gregg worked as a reoccurring, funny little cameo in all the movies. As the lead of a show, I hate to say this. I can't believe I'm saying this. He doesn't work. He does not work at all. Now, the writing is abysmal. It's shot like a 1980s soap opera. The pretty, uninteresting, untalented, facile cast are irritating at best, with only the Asian pilot being even the most remotely interesting actor, but never really getting to flex her muscles in any way at all, either acting or physically, in a way that would be at all pleasing. The action scenes seem to stop before they've even started. The plots are like something they've dredged up out of the fucking Dukes of Hazzard or something. It's like, it's just so generic and obvious and seen it all before tedium. They had an episode, the last episode I watched, which was meant to be about, like, her under this, the computer hacker. Is she or isn't she good or bad? Nobody cares. Yeah. Who gives a fuck? Snoresville. But anyway, her, the implausibly attractive computer hacker, had an implausibly handsome computer hacker boyfriend. I'm like, no. You can't just fucking start doing this. You can't. What I'm saying is, you can't have an episode of fucking where they're all meant to be like working for an underground computer network of people who are meant to have like political beliefs and technological ability and all the rest of it.
Fake WikiLeaks. Well, I can't believe it's not WikiLeaks.
Well, it's meant to be anonymous, like the fucking V for Vendetta crew. It's meant to be those guys.
Whatever. Oh, yeah, right, whatever. Right. Rising tide.
Which, by the way, every single TV show from fucking this through to fucking Elementary through to wherever else is doing this storyline at the moment. But anyway.
Of course, it's TV.
Right, I know. But, of course.
It's television, Mr. Wayne.
But to have this fucking 6'3" chiseled underwear model wandering around with no fucking beliefs or opinions or interesting character traits or anything, I'm like, I literally sat there. This is the only time I've ever done this while watching TV, and I can sit and watch, generic shitty TV as long as it has decent characters. You know what I mean? As long as there's like a couple of quirky people wandering, at a certain point, House became generic, derivative, crappy TV. But because you
in
had
the second episode, yes,
right, yeah, very good. But you had Hugh Laurie there, you had Robert, what's his name? You just had some decent people. You had
House. Do you mean? What? Sorry.
Oh, you don't want. Anyway, okay, fair enough. I quite liked it as a medical version of Sherlock Holmes. It was fine, but anyway.
Right. Whereas I kind of, sort of, sometimes like S.H.I.E.L.D. as a Marvel Universe version of every other fucking cop show on television right now, which is pretty much what it's wound up being. Most of the plots are fetch quests culled from the most generic comic book titles. Just recently, the last episode I watched was the obligatory tie-in to Thor 2, of all things, which found our team cleaning up Greenwich University in the aftermath of the film, and then going on a fetch quest for some Asgardian relics. I'm like, what it is boilerplate, run of the mill. The mill in this case being Disney and ABC. So let me tell you, my expectations for this were in the fucking toilet going through. Just past the toilet, in fact, and burrowing their way towards the center of the earth. And regardless of Whedon's involvement, because I knew going in, there's no fucking way he's going to run a TV show and do pre-production for Avengers 2. Especially since they're going to go ahead and do Ultron, which they ain't even introduced yet. So God knows what's going on there. My expectations were completely exceeded, obviously, by the fact that it does not outright suck, not to the degree that so many of the shitty cop shows on TV do.
See, I would argue that it does outright suck, and I would say that it is, even with low expectations, well below middle of the road. I mean, it's because, and it's not in its setup. It's in the writing. The writing is abysmal. I mean, just abysmal. It could have the 80s soap opera production values, and it could have the pretty people wandering around if you wrote them anything half fucking decent to say or do. In fact, fuck doing. If they just wrote them something decent to say, that at least would save it. Because look, what's Buffy? Buffy is a bunch of pretty people wandering around dealing with generic monsters that we've seen 100 times. No one's kidding anyone that is like high art. But he put shit in their mouths that you wanted to hear people say. And that's the very minimum I expect from something like this, is that out of their mouths will come something I could give half a moldy turd about occasionally sometimes. But I sat through the first 6 or whatever episodes of it was, and I just wanted to eat a bullet. I mean, it was so abysmal and just, just shockingly, I couldn't get behind any of it. I don't care about the pretty tortured boxing dude. I don't care about the pretty tortured hacker. I don't care about the goofy European, probably slightly effeminate fucking scientists. I don't care about whatever happened to fucking...
Some of the people I follow, they call them the European Wonder Twins.
Right, they're just tedious. Agent Coulson, like, they keep doing this thing, and this is typical Whedon, but it's typical Whedon going unchecked and not carefully done. This whole, what really happened to Agent Coulson? Because it certainly wasn't that he went to an island somewhere. Some government mysterious thing has happened to him, hasn't it? Oh, yes. And the agent pilot knows all about it. And right? So, but it's so heavy-handedly done, man. It's so badly done. There's no, subtlety to it. It's just so...
Well, no, of course not. It's network television.
Okay,
subtlety went out the window. round about the time Kiefer Sutherland started attaching, jump leads to people's balls. There's no subtlety here. We got to get the fucking punters who are still dumb enough to watch network TV.
Dude, I'm telling you, I sit and watch The Mentalist with my wife all the time. And
I'm sorry.
No, I don't mind. It's fine. Quirky characters solving crimes each week. I don't mind. It's good fun. But I have to say, there are better, more brave, better written, more exciting, and more subtle and interesting things going on in that show than there ever was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And I'm not even kidding. And you know that I love good writing. And you know that I love all the stuff that I like. So I'm not talking out of my arse or trying to make Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. worse than it is. I'm saying that something that most people would look at as a, middle-aged housewife's pursuit of TV, something throwaway like The Mentalist, has more interesting, subtle, inventive, dark things going on in it than Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And that just shouldn't be the fucking case. Hell, Castle has had better episodes than Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It has. Castle has had some genuinely, dark and interesting episodes. Not every single one of them. Most of them are terrible. But Castle has had some interesting, dark, and well-done episodes that if Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. had one of those in the first 6 episodes, I would still be watching it. But they didn't even have one. They couldn't even muster one even remotely passable, interesting episode. Not even a Castle-worthy episode. So,
but see, the thing is, Castle has been on the air for 4 years, but
Castle from its first season was interesting on certain episodes.
I'll have to take your word for that. I'm still pissed at Nathan Fillion for not being in the live-action Green Lantern movie like he should have been.
I agree.
But the thing is, even with and you're not going to find a bigger fan of the we call it the Buffyverse than me. But even admitting that, I mean, shit. Buffy didn't get good until halfway through season 2, and the same is true more or less of Angel. And I thought, or at least I used to think, that this was the real tragedy of Firefly. That as good as it fucking was, we were all really pissed off that it got canceled before season 2, which is when all of Whedon's shows actually find their mark. Because
the tragedy of Firefly is that it's the best thing anyone has ever done who is involved with Firefly, and they'll never, ever, ever, ever better it, ever.
Okay, I'll just send my old understanding down the memory hole and accept the new history.
No. I'm just saying that Nathan Fillion will never get a role as good as Malrun. Old Joss Whedon will never write anywhere close to 12 TV episodes that are that well crafted, well scripted, well acted. It's just never going to happen. And Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is huge amounts of proof of that. He had the opportunity to fill his spacecraft, for want of a better word, with a bunch of interesting people again and have them interesting lives interacting, and the pressures of having to be in a government agency that they can't talk about and all the rest of it. They had a whole ton of stuff they could have set up that would have been remotely interesting. Even if it was an X-Files ripoff, I would have preferred an X-Files ripoff than what we ended up getting, which was bland. It was like bland 80s Saturday morning television. I mean, there were episodes of the A-Team every episode of the A-Team is better written than any episode of Agents. I
was waiting for you to bring up your A-Team necrophilia. But go on.
I'm saying that the episodes of the A-Team, the characters, because everyone always goes, but every week the same thing happens. That is just ridiculous. The characters in the because like you say, it's network television. Of course, every week the same shit happens. Every week at the end, the bad guy is foiled, and everyone has a post-foilage happy moment, and then the credits roll. That's network television. I'm accepting that. I'm not even using that as a critical standpoint. It's not the plots of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that I really have too much of a problem with. in the A-Team, the characters were well drawn, well written. I know people don't believe me. I know they think I'm just some sort of fanboy with nostalgia, rose-tinted glasses. Go back, get your DVD box sets, watch the A-Team again. Just really good characters, really good scripts, really good ideas, really good spoofs. There's lots of great stuff going on in that series, far better than anything Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has managed to muster even yet. And I'm not hearing anything on the grapevine that says the episodes are getting any better, so...
Well, okay, let me tell you now. The episodes are definitely getting better.
How?
So there.
You just said that the last one was a generic case in point, like running around doing questy things with a Thor tie-in.
Well, there's still fetch quests, but see, what they've got is they've got everyone's character development on the slowest drip possible, because the other show that Jeff Loeb used to work on was Lost.
It's another piece of shit program.
Gives you another indication, and he's doing. I completely agree, and he's doing because they're doing the same thing that Lost was unfortunately prone to do, which is set up a reveal that is revealed to be the setup for another reveal, because that way you keep people coming back every week.
No, that's the simpleton's way of keeping people coming back every week. If you write a good character, people come back every week because they just want to watch those characters sit around and discuss baseball or something. They don't give a fuck what the characters are doing because they're good characters. It's not about like, oh, he's got a secret hat that he keeps in the bottom of his wardrobe that's covered in magical things or whatever. Nobody gives a shit. It's about the characters.
Yes, I completely agree. But here we are.
Yes.
We are, which is why I hate even talking about TV shows that have not completed their runs yet, because really, I got nothing, because I got no idea where any of this is going, or how any of it will be important, or how any of it will turn out, because it's not. The thing about the 80s was, and the thing about shitty cop shows now, is that because they're still running on this formula, is that they would just try to get enough episodes out to get to syndication where you could really make your money. But now everyone's buying DVDs. And what you do, if you know for a fact that you are guaranteed sell-through on the DVD market, is you make the entire season, one story split into however many acts. They're probably going to wind up with like 12 or maybe 24. And if it's 24, then God help me. I don't know what I'm going to do.
I think the problem is one of the reasons...
Take a break and watch Batman movies in between, probably.
Yeah. One of the reasons I was watching at all, because I really didn't have that much interest in it, but one of the reasons
I was gonna ask, because this show is for nerds, Marvel nerds specifically.
Is it though? What Marvel nerdy thing is in it?
All of them. What? Every single fucking bit.
So there's a Marvel comic book full of uninteresting, bland, two-dimensional, shitty characters.
Like, all of them, at one point or another. What? These things have to be on the shelves every month. You think everything? No. I'm sorry if I've given you the impression that it's all shiny goodness, but no,
I'm saying that
Sturgeon's law very much applies. So, 90% of it is crap, and that can rise to 98% on a bad month.
But there is a Marvel crossover. There's a Marvel comic book about these Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Not these specifically. Most of them are new creations. But yes, S.H.I.E.L.D. itself was a actual series for quite some time.
I know S.H.I.E.L.D. existed, but okay. But
they were doing. The problem was, though, it was usually centered around Nick Fury, and you're not going to lure him back to television now.
Well, Sam Jackson did do a brief cameo in one of the episodes, but.
Episode 2, in fact, that was to keep all the movie people, nice and calm. That yes,
but what's the geeky thing in it? What is the geeky thing in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that is based on like comic book nostalgia? What's the geeky thing in it?
Oh God, all of the fetch quest items are in one way or another related to the Marvel universe, either current or former. Extremis showed up in episode 1, which is a direct tie-in to Iron Man 3. Episode 5, I think it was the origin of a villain who's usually named Graviton. But it was pretty consistent with previous incarnations. The guy who got sucked into the black hole thing.
Yeah,
that's him. He's going to pop back out at some point. All of their secret bases are drawn directly from the comics, including most of the supporting cast, like Maria Hill showed up, and she's in there. The last episode, God, it's just the entire universe is seeping. You can feel it, like seeping around the cracks of this of the strictures of Disney-owned network television.
But you see, I think that the
blob oozing in through the walls.
But I honestly have to say, man, while I understand, and I understand like the Disney network television, evil.
And you talk about them not being at all subtle with Phil Coulson's whatever his secret may be. I'll tell you right now that a major component of S.H.I.E.L.D. are false implanted memories, various kinds of duplicates, both biological and technological, and all kinds of fun spy-fi bullshit. They S.H.I.E.L.D. really likes to mess with its agents' heads. If you thought the Dollhouse was creepy and weird, then I'm waiting for them to get real deep into this and really start.
Right, but this is what I'm trying to say, is that I think, and I understand, look, it hasn't had a whole first season yet and so on, but I'm not the only one saying this. People are turning off in droves. So I'm just, the reason why I was watching was twofold. Sorry?
Yes, please. Tell me. Yeah.
Well, I was watching it because I was like, okay, shit, I'm invested in this now. I've seen all the movies and I've seen the Avengers, and Avengers 2 is going to come out, and like, Agent Coulson is back, so he's probably going to start cropping up in the movies again at some point, and I've got to be like along for the ride. I've got to find out like what the storyline is, and I want to know what's going on, and blah 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 blah. And I understand there's going to be weekly episodes, and I know that they're not going to get so in depth in the mythology of it that it's going to make people turn off or confuse people or whatever like that. But I thought that there would be bits and bobs I would need to pick up throughout the show. So that interested me. I also wanted to know how like Agent Coulson came back. I wanted to know all about that. And, and I wanted to see seriously what Whedon and or other writers, producers and so on could do with the concept week in, week out. And while I take everything on board, and I'm not like a fan of Disney or a fan of, corporate made television or anything like that, I honestly don't think, with having seen the episodes I've seen, and I honestly don't believe that is this program's problem. I don't. I can't like get up in arms that it's because it's on a sappy, wet, unimaginative channel like ABC. I don't think that's if that was the problem, I'd be like, oh, okay, they've neutered it because of the fuck. Like, I would see genius in there, but I would see it being neutered by, like, shitty product placement and, fucking pointless tie-ins and all the rest of it. And while there is, the occasional pointless tie-in, mostly I don't see how with the success of the Marvel movies, any network, no matter how fucking prissy and shitty, is going to not give them at least some rope to hang themselves with in order to make a half-decent show that's going to keep people coming back every week. I've got to believe if Whedon managed to get his fucking brother and sister-in-law on the fucking main production writing team staff, that someone somewhere has some clout that isn't fucking Disney. Because you're not telling me Disney are like, yeah, we'll take these tried and untested brother and sister team of the fucking Joss Whedon guy just because. So somewhere along the line...
No, not just because not just because.
Right, they're doing
because
it because
he made them $1 billion last year.
Exactly.
They're going to tell him no.
But this is my point. This is my whole point. If network TV was fucking this show up, I would be in agreement. But I don't think it is. I think network TV has given this show as much of a fucking leeway and freedom as almost any show because they made them $1 billion last year. And I think that the problem with what they've done is instead of going ahead and making what could have been either the Buffy of the Marvel Universe, or even the Firefly of the Marvel Universe, or hell, fucking the Dollhouse of the Marvel Universe, which would have been fucking amazing, or some amalgam of all three. Instead of doing that while still maintaining all your geeky stuff about, like, the bases and the items and the things, because let's be fair, he's not above doing... MacGuffins. Buffy is filled with, like, the amulet of this and the rock of that and the stone of the other. It doesn't matter.
Yes,
like, you can maintain all that stuff. That doesn't matter. The problem with the show is the writing, number 1, 2, and 3. And fourth on the list, the cast. The cast are fucking abysmal. They're one of the worst casts on television. And I don't understand when you've got high-end actors in almost every other TV show, acting their little socks off. And you spit and you can hit a TV show on every fucking channel, from generic bullshit network right through to interesting, dark, twisty-turny cable, or supposedly, even though it's never is. And it's filled with what either was the A-list of the 80s and 90s, or even the fucking A-list of now. Fucking... a dude who was Dredd and is in Star Trek has just started a new show. Carl Urban, or whatever his name is.
Yes.
So, like, he's a relatively A-list actor in big blockbuster movies, and he's doing a new fucking network show. So, I don't understand, right? The cast is shitty and the writing is shitty. There's no reason why either of these two things should be so. That's where I don't understand.
Well, and I can't help you because I completely disagree with you. So you think the writing's good on the show? I wouldn't say good. I'd say acceptable.
What's your favorite character?
I've seen a lot worse. At this, what kind of facile? I don't trust any of them. What? They're all hiding something. What kind of facile, bullshitty Entertainment Weekly question is that? What's your favorite character?
Well, hang on a second. I didn't ask if they were hiding anything. You can still have a character you like. No, my point of the question was, I don't believe there are any decent characters in it. So if I ask you, like, okay, what's the character look, when you watch a TV show, especially an ensemble show, you start
right now it'd be Melinda May, because her actress can have an entire dialogue scene with just her eyebrows.
Are you talking about the Asian pilot?
Yes, her name is May, and I actually remember them. They would be and that would be followed closely by Coulson, whom I think works perfectly well as Team Dad.
They are the only two that I would even give the time of day to, so that I would agree with.
He is, in his post-death state, from all his baggage, he is also Team Idealist. He is the one who does not want to go in with, who does not want to end every situation with an explosion and a dead body. And he has repeatedly gone out of his way and put himself in great personal jeopardy to ensure that over and over again. I like that about him. And indeed, that's a trait that holds through with all of the agents that he surrounds himself with. In 8 episodes, at least, everyone has gotten at least one chance to throw themselves on some kind of grenade or another. Simmons, half of the European Wonder Twins, threw herself out of an airplane last episode, specifically because of that. So there's your cheesy 80s action thing there. It was bullshit CGI, though, so you'd hate it, I'm sure. Let's see. Shit, I even like audience identification characters. Skye, and she is by far the most annoying of them all. But
that goes to handsome, generic action man character. That goes to him.
Grant? See, I thought you'd love Grant.
Why would I love Grant? He can't act his way out of a wet pair of pants.
Oh, I was going to say something awful, but no, I'm not. So, okay. Yeah. So,
there isn't a lick, apart from the two adult ones, what I would call the two adult ones, which is Coulson and May. Apart from those two...
It's true. They are Team Mom
and Coulson, because he has familiarity from the movies, and I happen to like Clark Gregg just as a person. So even though I don't think he's particularly good on the show or written very well, I would give him the time of day. And May, because she's like the generic, I've got the right face for this, so I can be stoic and squint my eyes and and sort of exude some level of charisma, even though I imagine that's just the way her face is. But beyond that, none of the other characters or actors have any charisma, opinions I care about, senses of humor even. I mean, there's nothing. They're all milk saps. It's all nothing. It's all just vacant space, taking up clothes. It's really, yeah. And even when they did have like interesting people on, like Ian Hart and stuff, you know,
you missed Peter McNichol.
That was yeah, I know he was. I've got it recorded. I might watch it, but that, you know, Ian Hart was reduced to a fucking scene where they're running up and down on the ceiling and the walls and everything, rather than, you know, and he's trying to expound like his theory and philosophy or whatever, but. You know, I'm glad it got sucked into a black hole because that's where the dialogue belonged, because it was terrible.
Well, I'm sorry you feel that way.
No, I'm sorry I feel that way. I'm genuine. I actually love these Marvel movies with actual passion and movie fandom, and considering they're not making very many good movies nowadays, the fact that we get an Iron Man 3 and a Thor 2 and some other stuff coming out warms my heart and makes me happy, and I like the characters, I like the actors, I like the writing, I like almost everything on these movies. And I even liked ones that people didn't like as much. I liked the first Thor, I liked the first Captain America, and so on. I wanted to like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fucking through the roof and out the window. I wanted to geek out on that shit every week. The sets could have been flimsy, the plots could have been generic, but just make them say something decent occasionally. And we don't even get that. And the actors are no good. And it's a problem. And it's not a problem because of the usual reasons. I would have expected far more. Whedon, in terms of TV, for me, has not put a foot wrong. I've liked everything he's done in TV, even the shitty episodes of Buffy, even the first series of Buffy. I love them. And, even some of the fucking trite, generic twists and turns that Angel took, they all wrapped up in the end to be something that had a mission statement and had something interesting going on. And even though David Boreanaz is a big hunk of ham that just sort of wanders around bumping into furniture, I still like that show.
Yes. No, yeah, you ain't never saying an unkind word about my boy.
But, he's,
unless you're talking about Bones. You can talk shit about Bones all you want.
There is a case in point of an absolutely mediocre, average actor being buoyed by fantastic plots, fantastic scripts, and a great supporting cast.
Yeah.
Nothing that Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has, sadly. I mean, I wish it did. Anyway, I'm not trying to convince you. It's just my opinion, dude. And I'm glad you are still hanging in there for all us sinners. And hopefully you'll report back from the front line, 5 or 6 weeks from now, and you'll report back and you'll say, well, the laugh is on you because they just broadcast the best fucking episode ever of TV ever, and you missed it because you slinked off after only 6 or 7 episodes, and it's all your fault.
We'll see. I'll let you know in like 14 weeks or so.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I stuck with Lost 13 episodes till I gave up because I realized that the writers couldn't write. So it only took me 6 or 7 to bail on S.H.I.E.L.D., but we'll wait and see. I might dip back in later on in the series. But,
well, I'll let you know.
Yeah. I'm not seeing anything compelling online from fanboys or even from critics that's saying that I should...
Well, you're not going to see anything compelling from fanboys.
No. Occasionally, like people... Look, if you look at things like Breaking Bad or Mad Men or any of those shows, or even...
Which I don't, but okay.
Or Dexter, which became hugely fan popular, or
now you talk.
Or fuck it, even Fringe, that became massively fan thing. I saw positive, singing the praises reviews of those, let's be fair, niche, fan-favorite, fanboy geek shows. And I saw it on podcasts, I saw it on blogs, I saw it on Twitter, I saw it on Facebook. I'm not seeing that for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Well, you're looking in the wrong place then. I should hook you up with some of my people.
Okay, because I'm hearing is people kind of okay, but no, I don't ignore people.
Just kidding. I'm just giving you shit.
Most of the people that I follow or look at or pass through my transom are kind of going, I'll stick with it if nothing else is on, but But then, I wanted to see the James Spader starring Blacklist because I liked 20. I know you referenced 24 earlier. I actually liked 24. There was huge things wrong with it that I didn't like, but I loved the Die Hard TV show aspect of it. I liked the gruff guy with a gun going after terrorists. The fact that it was 24 episodes couldn't be sustained. Like, that was a mistake. But anyway, I want to see the Blacklist. It was like set up to be kind of Hannibal meets 24. And I was like, I can be down with that. Hannibal Lecter meets 24. That sounds great. With my boy James Spader, what could go wrong? That's got to be a good job.
Famous last.
An episode and a half in, I'm like, what is this show? This is the worst written. I mean, it was like that was a double whammy with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I was just like, oh my God, the two shows I was looking forward to. Wow. I'm more excited about, and I'm not even kidding, I'm more excited about the second series of Elementary than I am about fucking these two shows. So,
and I take this as another confirmation of my stance to never get excited for anything.
I will resolutely stand negative and depressed until something wows me. Yeah, that makes sense.
Because the thing about it is it allows more things to wow you, and if things turn out sucky, you get to feel smug and superior.
I know, but there's still a 4-year-old boy in front of me. This is a good thing. I don't know if you had it over here. You probably did. In fact, you probably had it on a much larger scale than we did. But there was, when we were growing up, there would be like toy adverts in which the toys they were showing, be them Transformers or Barbie dolls or whatever the four fucking Playmobil figures, whatever it was, were shown to be like exciting and alive, and there would be laser lights and noises and blah, 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 blah. And of course,
hell yeah. Tons.
This was in the commercials, and we would avoid the very fine print that said like noises and laser lights not included in the toy or whatever. Mm-hmm. But we would watch those things and we'd be like, oh, I've got to get that for Christmas. I have that for Christmas. I have that for Christmas. And Christmas would come. You would get the toy. You'd open it. You'd tear all the wrapping off and blah, 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 blah. You'd be all excited. Your little heart would fill with joy. You would play with it for maybe 5 minutes before you realized it was a hunch of badly painted plastic that did nothing and was irrelevant. And then you realized that everything that you'd grown up to believe in was a lie. Well, I still have that 5-year-old boy in me that when I see a commercial or I see a trailer or I see something that even piques my interest a little bit, I'm like, oh, goody, 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 that's coming. So I can't help it.
Yeah, that's fine. All that tells me is that your inner child was not choked to death on Nintendo Entertainment System games and a steady slew of the shitty ones, particularly from 1992 to 96, the SNES era. It had some crap.
I didn't play my first. Well, no, I used to play Sega Master System, we used to call it.
Much better choice, let me tell you.
I used to play that around my friend's house, but that was infrequent. And then I didn't get my own game console till I was like in my mid-20s.
And see, if you were one of those unfortunate children like I was that got the N64 in 1991 when it was new. Right, you got one game a year at Christmas, so and if you picked a lemon, you were stuck with it.
Right,
and so yes, I learned good and early to never trust hype at all, ever, because it would inevitably lead to complete and utter disappointment. And really, it seems like I'm... for the longest time, I just thought that was how everybody lived. But now I grow up and I find out that, no, we all seem to have grown up with these images in our heads of these idealistic images of these things. We're not the products of corporations out to fleece us for every last red cent that we have.
Yeah, I don't know. I just saw Agent Coulson.
This is why I don't watch commercials, and this is why I haven't been all that broken up to having been absorbed in moving these last 3 weeks, and so not being able to tune in to my usual channels.
Yes, indeed.
Of fan bitching and moaning.
You see, now
that doesn't even fucking matter. Jesus Christ.
That's one thing I don't engage in anymore. The one thing that I have cut, I still get excited about stuff, but the one thing that I have cut completely out of my life is fan bitching and moaning. Which is funny because what I do essentially is fan bitching and moaning. But what I don't do,
I would argue with that, sir. I think you do so much more. But
thank you very much. But I don't go on message boards.
I troll YouTube. I know fan bitching and moaning, and you, sir, do engage in a much higher form than that. I would dare to call it actual criticism, but I know you bristle.
I would.
At the suggestion.
I like to call it a conversation between friends. That's what I like to call it. If I wasn't doing this on a podcast, I would be down a pub somewhere with a like-minded individual putting the world to rights over whatever the latest fucking thing was. And all I do now is I record those conversations and put them out there for everyone to see. That's what I do. In a very basic, down-to-earth, men-in-a-bar type way.
That's why we love you, man.
All right, so before we march on to Thor 2, we have a comment from your favorite listener and mine, Philip O'Neill.
Oh, hey.
Yeah.
Yes. Fitting. No, actual.
Indeed.
It's comments from Sweden. So what do we got?
Indeed. Philip O'Neill. He has a little jingle on the show. Anyway, his comment says, while I enjoyed Iron Man 3, I kind of wish Shane Black hadn't actually made that film, considering all the hatred he has received from fanboys. Well, not here on this show, but sir, are you aware of such hatred?
Am I aware?
I'll take that as a no. I don't know.
Oh my God, no! What do you think every Iron Man fan was talking about when they came out of the show? Oh God, Shane, yes. To some, in some quarters, and I know your mantra on this show is that no one's opinion is wrong, and if that's true, then that means we have to respect the people who walked out of Iron Man 3 feeling it was a complete bastardization and betrayal of their favorite Iron Man, of their favorite Iron Man villain in particular, and of the entirety of Iron Man's character in particular. Just because. Yeah,
I know the whole Mandarin thing, and the whole Tony not being in the suit thing, and just the whole Shane Blackiness of it.
He specifically chooses his girlfriend over the suit at the end and gives her makes it a big production number, blowing them all up, a Christmas present. And it's like, people just have different priorities, I guess, is how the diplomatic way to phrase it. Some people are looking for complete restorations of the status quo with every entry, and some are willing to look past, individual changes to source material.
Yeah,
and
the same people.
Metaphor.
Yeah, the same people probably were praising Christopher Nolan for for saying 8 years later at the beginning of Dark Knight Rises and not explaining anything at all and just having him hobbling around.
Actually, no, they weren't. Those same people are firmly in your camp on that. And they stopped giving the movie the time of day before it even came out because Anne Hathaway wasn't hot enough to be Catwoman.
Right. Well, those people are idiotic. I mean, that's not. I know. They're not like their opinion. Like them having an opinion is absolutely fine. That's what I mean by no opinion is right. They can have whatever opinion they like. It doesn't mean that it's not without any merit and completely idiotic. My point was snide point, and you were probably right to jump on me about it. But my snide point is that fanboys tend to be notoriously fickle and tend to hate one thing but then like something else that doesn't make any sense that they like that and hate this other thing. That was my point. Whereas I have occasions of that because I'm a human being and obviously we're not all fucking like straight and narrow or focused, but my opinions on stuff tend to be based on the same criteria, rightly or wrongly. Although I still give shit a pass that if it was done by someone else, I would be up in arms about it. But
indeed, you have pushed movies in front of a train that were that were better put together than Iron Man 3. But so have I. You know,
name one. Which movie have I pushed in front of a train that was better put together than Iron Man 3?
I don't know. Shit. How many episodes have you done now?
This will be the 103rd episode.
Oh, awesome! That's nice uneven number.
But I have to say, I don't think that's the case. I mean, you know, someone could argue, well, you know, Man of Steel was blah, blah, blah. And they might...
Yes, I could, but I'm not going to.
Right, but it would be a fool's errand because they'd be wrong. So...
Yes, exactly.
I'm kidding. To my opinion, they'd be wrong. To their opinion, they'd be right.
And in my opinion, Jarrell was right. You're a pack of fools. Every last one of you.
Yes. I live quite happily with the knowledge that the human beings... in all their broad and wonderful strokes are a bunch of mewling idiots, and I put myself firmly in that camp. I myself am a lank-haired mewling idiot as well, and I have no idea what I'm doing or what I'm saying 99.9% of the time. So that is why I don't get too head up that people have differing opinions to me. In fact, it was very funny. I forget what conversation was I having the other day with someone. I think it was on Twitter. And someone said, and I didn't mean to offend you. And I was like, dude, we're talking about James Bond movies. Why would anything you say be offensive? You know what I mean?
Yeah, because people are so goddamn sensitive these days. We have no identities. And so we latch on to whatever thing comes down the pipeline. And if people, you know, start talking shit about it, we tend to take it personally because we ain't got nothing else going on.
I took
stupid lives.
I took the Evil Dead thing personally, but that wasn't because of any fanboy opinion. That was because of something that Bruce Campbell did and Sam Raimi did directly. And I feel like I can take offense at artists I once admired letting me down. I feel like that's fine. I feel like if a fanboy came at me and went, no, man, Evil Dead is the greatest thing, the remake is the greatest thing ever, I wouldn't get offended by them saying that. That's the difference. Do you know what I mean?
I do. I get what you're saying. Yeah, totally.
So anyway... not dwelling on that. Let us move forward. Although I do always
fuck fanboys.
No, I don't mean it like that. I do always enjoy.
No, I do though. I do. This is me speaking. My opinions do not necessarily reflect those of the After Movie Diner or any of its affiliates. But
of many affiliates.
As you say, everybody's got one, right? And so, in my opinion, fuck fanboys. Every last one of them.
Fair enough. Then I will happily side with that because I couldn't care either way. But and with that, I want you to talk all about Thor 2.
Some believe that before the universe, there was nothing. They're wrong. There was darkness. And it has survived.
I gave you my word. I would return.
What's gonna happen?
Hold on.
Wait, what? Jade! From different worlds. Maybe they're separate for a reason.
If we do nothing, they'll destroy us.
Ask yourself, what will you sacrifice for what you believe?
must be truly desperate to come to me for help.
You should know that when you betray me, I will kill you.
When do we start?
But I'm going to give the floor to you, so I want to hear all about it.
Thor The Dark Behind.
We already agreed it's called Loki of Darkness.
No, because if we can just get away from the word dark, honestly, if we could just banish that from...
It's your fucking boy Nolan who started it, dude. Don't get so...
Oh, yeah, you're going to blame him for everyone chasing after that $1 billion prize? Okay. Instead of, like, all the people who are trying to suck his style. Like, there's plenty of blame to go around. I blame J.J. Abrams. I blame Kevin Feige in this case. It's the whole complex of them, really. It's groupthink is what it is. And going in, I feared that I would catch the whiff of groupthink coming off of Thor 2, which I'm just going to call Thor 2 because it's not as stupid. Because, for one thing...
you thought they were going to, like, gritty Thor up a bit? Is that what you thought they were going to try and do?
Superficially, yes.
Well, it's all superficial because none of it's really dark and gritty. But anyway.
Well, yeah. Well, and that's usually what things mean by adding the prefix dark to something. But no, in this case, they literally do mean the Dark World because this is Thor, and there is one. Svartalfheim. I'm not pronouncing that correctly, but
it doesn't
then again,
matter.
Nobody even tries in the film. I noticed.
No, at all.
Not even Anthony Hopkins, right? And if anybody could make that sound good in a human mouth, you'd think it'd be Sir Tony Hopkins.
There's that great bit where they're on the balcony and he comes back and he says, so are the world's at peace or whatever? And he said, yeah. And he goes like, even Whiffleheim or whatever it's called. And like he mumbles it because he knows he can't pronounce it. He goes, what, even time? Like, it's even done like that nobody can be bothered.
Well, but see, at the same time though, Stellan Skarsgård is right the fuck over there. You could just ask him. I mean...
But he's running around Stonehenge naked. So.
Nobody knows who they were or what they were doing.
Yeah, I think he was running around Stonehenge naked, having escaped off the set of Lars von Trier's Nymphomaniac.
Latest film, yes.
Yeah, that's what I think. He's gone, no more Shia LaBeouf. Like, Shia LaBeouf has driven him mental. And he's run away, and he's found himself. I believe this is an unofficial sequel to Nymphomaniac. That's what I believe.
That would be so awesome, if nothing else, because it would force all of the Marvel fanboys to rush out and watch Nymphomaniac, and I'm sure I could hear their heads explode in a giant cascade reaction that travels across the land. Seismographs would pick it up like everywhere.
Like the Mars attacks aliens when coming and confronted with country and western music.
Exactly like that. It'd just be pop, except with no glass bowls, so it'd spray out everywhere. Oh, God, yeah. But, yeah.
Although I hate to say it, I think my brain will do that if I ever see Nymphomaniac, because I don't particularly like Von Trier's movies. Anyway, move on.
Right, because, but yes, moving on. So I was really worried about Thor 2 going in because I didn't know where the hell they'd go. They used the standard superhero sequel plot in the first movie. So, what the hell? The thing I hoped they do, which to my mind was the only reasonable thing they could do, which is actually expand the fucking scope of things. Because we've been through the Asgard 101 lecture. That was Thor 1. And so now we can just hit the ground running and fucking go for it. And, of course, this is Hollywood now, so going for it means kind of beginning with the Lord of the Rings ripoff. And so as I was watching, golden armored Caucasian looking dudes square off against pointy eared, motherfuckers with charcoal complexions, I was like, oh, okay, okay, hey, here we go. Start as we mean to go on. But thankfully, the movie quickly turned itself around, and proceeded to be almost the interdimensional action adventure fantasy romp that I expected Thor 1 to be. So I feel kind of like the same way I felt with Iron Man 3, which is also why I was kind of happy that we're doing these together. It's like, well, great, guys. You're only like 2 years late, but better late than never. Shit. I'll take what I can get.
Hey, man, let's look at this. Put it this way. You got to see more of your girl, Sif.
Indeed. It's about fucking time. Not enough, though, of course.
Well, never enough. They need their own fucking movie.
Right, but see, this is... so this would be problem one.
I think problem one is lack of Ray Stevenson. I think Sif is all very well, but Ray Stevenson's where it's at. That's what I'm saying.
I'll give you that. Really, all of the Warriors 3, and Sif, and shit, even Thor's mom, she should have had hell of a lot more to do, considering what happened. Spoiler alert.
Right.
Yeah, it's just... The problem one is they did this, is the same problem the first movie had. Is they come up with this entire supporting cast, 2 universes worth of them, in fact, and give them fuck all to do, so that we can focus on the what I call the Odin Son show, the Loki Thor adventure half hour, because the ladies and the gentlemen of a certain persuasion, they just love a god of lies, and yeah. It's for whatever reason. I mean, I get it. I mean, Hiddleston's probably the second or third best actor in the cast, but yeah. And not to say that I didn't enjoy the hell out of the Odin Son show, and I like the fact that it ends the movie. It's kind of like the sub-climax, and even the twists they put on Loki's sudden but inevitable betrayal were enough to pleasantly surprise me. I didn't expect any severed limbs in a Marvel movie. That was nice. I liked that. That was a nice surprise, even if they were fake.
Right.
It's good to get it. So. That problem one is somewhat ameliorated, except for every time we get to Earth, and I'm like, oh God, we're back. Here we are again.
But we have more Dennings.
Yeah, but she's still playing the same character. She's better in this one. I'll give you that. She's not just stating the obvious.
The weirdest thing is, unless he turns out to be a major villain because he was spurned Natalie Portman's love, what the hell was Chris O'Dowd doing in this movie? Like, this dude is like headlining Judd Apatow rom-coms, and suddenly he's cropping up in Thor 2 for a couple of comedic relief scenes? What was that all about?
I have no idea.
Does he turn up later and go, curses, I never got to date Portman, and suddenly turns into like an evil villain or something? I mean, I would be able to go with that. But
I could not find a damn thing on him. His name is not recognizable. It's nobody I know. So, no, he's just there for odious comic relief, right, which is apparently all Earth is good for and going to be good for in these Thor movies, which is kind of unfortunate.
I don't know, dude. The destruction of Greenwich was pretty damn fucking spectacular.
I know, right? I'm like, yeah, you fuck up that Royal Navy College, Thor.
Although, can I point one thing out? And I know it's been pointed out a million times, but you cannot get from Charing Cross to Greenwich in 2 stops. Look it up. Look it up. Why? Okay, let me ask an American. Is Charing Cross so well known a subway stop in London that it benefits from being in this movie?
No.
So if it was...
Yeah, there's nothing...
If it was... Sorry. Let me even see what is near Greenwich. I don't know. I can't even... I'm looking now on the wall at a London Underground subway stop. No, I have. I've got the map on my wall, and I'm looking to see... you definitely can't get to fucking Greenwich from Charing Cross. No, any way you cut it. I don't even know what they're talking about. But I don't know. If you said fucking Bermondsey or Tower Hill or Rotherhide or wherever, like any one of those names would be as meaningful or meaningless as fucking Charing Cross. You know what I mean? Although Anthony Hopkins was in that. There is a Charing Cross, 84 Charing Cross or something. Isn't that a book or something? I think Anthony Hopkins was in...
Oh, God, that's a deep cut. That's too deep for me, and that's in the wrong direction.
84 Charing Cross Road. Yes, 84 Charing Cross Road was a 1987 movie based on the 1970 book by Helene Hanff. Or Hanff, maybe, with Anne Bancroft and Anthony Hopkins and Judi Dench.
Wow, quite the heavy hitter that is.
So yeah, 84 Charing Cross Road. Maybe it was some obscure nod to that, but even so, I've no idea.
I could totally buy that. I'd buy that a lot more than banking on the name recognition of obscure London Underground stops.
Right.
I mean, most of us we got fucking King's Cross and that's it. Yeah, really, that's it. Yeah, but fuck all that. This climactic battle.
No, don't fuck all that. It's important. No, I'm kidding.
Right, but okay. We all have our nitpicks. My big one would be problem 3 with the whole thing, which is that they fucked Malakath over completely. Malakath the Accursed.
Right.
Once again, our villain plot is completely the weakest link. And I get, Thor's arc through all of this. It's kind of annoying that he takes 2 movies to get what he took like 6 pages to get in most of his origin stories. But okay, at the end of the movie, I'm like, oh, okay, fine, cool. And the overall experience was highly positive. I just want to say that. Because at the end we're finally into some kind of a status quo that you could conceivably spin more shit out of, just instead of just like set up for an Avengers movie. But at the same time, man, I think they missed a golden opportunity, especially since why the fuck do you cast Christopher Eccleston, bury him under tons of makeup, and then give him nothing to do?
Well, because you're casting a superhero villain role. That's why you do it.
See, that's a horrible attitude to take. Heroes are defined by their villains.
No, I agree. I'm saying that's what they do, though. I mean...
Oh, I know. I'm just saying, and I'm saying that's a horrible fucking attitude to take, and it betrays, a blind spot in their priorities list that's going to need to get fixed sooner rather than later. Because if we're just fighting generic World Conqueror number 2215, it's going to get just what I said, generic. The reason the World Conquerors are cool is because they are generally the exception to the rule. But I've heard from many screenwriters in many an interview that if your movie costs more than $100 million, man, it's got to be World in Peril states, or they're not even nobody's gonna sign off on it, right? So I'm like, okay, you've got to do something to differentiate these fuckers, or they're just going to come off as bland, just completely bland. And we'll have, from your perspective, we'll have an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. situation, except on the big screen. So, yeah, I'm worried about the Winter Soldier myself, personally, after the streak they've had. I mean, Loki seems to be more and more like a fluke of great casting and decent direction than anything else. And the fact that he's, you're standing next to Anthony Hopkins, you got to kind of like absorb something by osmosis.
And Justin Hammer could have been done a lot better, considering how good Sam Rockwell is.
I mean, yeah, and Guy Pearce, damn it, Guy Pearce was pretty damn good. Honestly, he's personable. He's enjoyable. You know, I giggle.
His ugly makeup at the beginning of the movie is woefully poor. But apart from that, yeah, he did a pretty good job.
Yeah, once he's in there, once he's choking people and threatening their lives, I'm really into this guy. I'm with him. You know, I'm laughing at his fucking jokes and I'm liking his grandiose speeches, but shit. To go from that to Malekith the Accursed is really a hell of a step down. I mean, the fucking that fucking one-armed orc in the Hobbit movie did more for me than this Joker. And I know who Malekith is, or at least who he has been and is currently. But no, they just. They fucked it up, and not because they changed superficial details. It's because I don't even have enough detail to make a decent comparison at all. I mean, he gets one scene with Thor's mom where he calls her a witch, and that's it's kind of and the ether is
Well, it's generic hokum, colourful object number 2. In fact, they even refer to it as such. I mean, they dress it up and they give it a fancy name, which I know is based in Marvel lore, the 6 gems of something, or the precious stones, or
Infinity Gems.
Infinity Gems. That's it. And I know that's based on an actual Marvel thing, but basically,
you will know it soon. Trust me.
Well, yeah, because they've got the collector at the end. But the spoiler number 15. But at the end of the day, in terms of this movie, it's exactly what the Tesseract was in the Captain America 1 movie, which is generic, colourful, glowy object MacGuffin number 2. That's all it is.
And that's really unfortunate, because the Cosmic Cube is a hell of a lot more than that.
I love you calling it the Cosmic Cube. Bring me the Cosmic Cube. It just sounds like
damn
something out of...
straight, bring me the Cosmic Cube.
It sounds like something out of Monty Python.
Actually, it's something out of 1960s comics, like Thor. Right. So, yeah, and guess what? You got to deal with it, or at least I thought you'd have to deal with it. But no, they're content to reduce all of their MacGuffins to even more MacGuffin status than they already were. I mean, shit, do we even know what the Tesseract, that's such a better name. Shit.
Well, no, now they're going to change it again and make it one of the fucking gems. Now it's one of the fucking collectible doodads.
Right. Yeah, right. I mean, we didn't even know, but see, that's fine, because we didn't even know what the hell it did in the first place. In Captain America, it could make weapons somehow.
They're all energy sources. That's
right.
What it is.
In the Avengers, it can make energy. Except and the ether though, we're told it can it converts matter into dark matter, which is an interesting idea. So immediately, I have this vision in my head of this black-eyed, fiery-veined Natalie Portman just smiting her enemies with gravity powers. Just staring at a motherfucker and trapping them in this little bubble of Jupiter gravity and pulverizing them into paste and just, yeah. But it was not to be, sadly.
But this is a movie that contains glowy rock thing that when the evil beastie holds the glowy rock thing, he is impervious to everything. Even though that's not explained at any point at all. It's just the glowy rock thing that when you hold it, you become the last, whatever the name of that beastie was. You become the last cursed. Blah.
Just the cursed, right? Okay. Which is weird, and confusing, because that's supposed to be, that's one of Malekith's names. He is Malekith the Accursed, because he's the last ruler of a more or less destroyed people who... Right. Shit, they can't reproduce worth of crap. They're like what, a floaty ship's worth of. They're the Romulans in the Star Trek reboots.
Right? No, that's exactly what they are. But what I don't understand is when he crashes all the spaceships at the beginning of the movie and kills all his people, there seems to only be him and his horned beastie friend left. Yet when they show up again in the future, there's a whole spaceship full of them. But I have to say, I loved their Doctor Who villain-esque like masks. That was awesome. They're slightly
faces.
like, yeah, they're kind of like slightly. Well, they had dead eyes with the slightly round, white, plasticky looking faces. They had a real nice 70s BBC quality to them that I really dug.
And yeah, I dug them too.
For all my Whovians out there.
Right, and I dug them too for the general design sense of the whole movie. I mean, shit, Asgard looks a hell of a lot better than it did. It looks like people actually live there. And I liked the Dark Elves ship.
They're able to rebuild everything extraordinarily quickly, although I still haven't quite figured out that ending, so maybe they didn't. I don't know.
Right. But anyway, I liked the design sense of the Dark Elves. I even kind of liked Svartalfheim as a realm. It's, as usual, not really dark enough to be the dark dimension, but that's kind of just a tick I have.
I think it was as monochromatic as they're going to make it in a big sort of whiz-bangery type world. I mean, it's, there's like thick black-grey sand that they're rolling about on. There's not a lot of stuff going on there.
Dark caves. The sun is kind of wan and
it gets
light.
great cell coverage.
Yeah, the whole thing looks like, well, at least like in that one cave. Right, that's the only place you'd get a fucking signal, because that's where the doorway to
I know.
Midgard
just possibly
is.
The doorway to another world.
Yes, exactly. And I liked the haunted house, the haunted parking garage there, which is the doorway between dimensions.
The thing with Thor 2 is that I have to be very, very clear on. Is you could, there are two ways to watch this movie. You could watch this movie and very easily hate the fuck out of all of it, right? Because there's a bunch of stuff that isn't explained. There's a bunch of glowing rocks and funny beasties, and, it suffers from all the things that I have a problem with in what they call pure fantasy. Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, stuff like that. Stuff that is fantastical.
We actually call it high fantasy. But
high fantasy, whatever you want to call it. Right. That is what I like to say, and I don't want to get too deep into this again, but funny people with funny names going to funny places doing funny things. In other words, it's Rothmagoth, take the rock of Ubergabag and go to the planet of Grog, where you will find the magical beastie of Reg. And, it's this stuff.
I wish that were true.
Right, exactly. But what I'm saying is there's a ton of that stuff, right? But I got a big kick out of, because I know that if the whole Marvel universe was that, I couldn't get into it, because I don't have a good time with high fantasy. I just don't get involved in it. I can't get excited about it. But because this was a real portmanteau movie with a ton of shit happening across a ton of different things, and the whole land portal, the whole dimension portals jumping was kind of done in a fun, haphazard kind of 70s way. I really enjoyed. I liked Marvel throwing their hat into the ring and trying to do a kind of Lord of the Ringsy opening. I kind of enjoyed that. I didn't even scoff at it, and normally I might have done, but I enjoyed it. I embraced it.
Yeah, it's easier when and they did a much better time this time around than the last time,
right.
At least.
Oh yeah,
with
completely.
the Frost Giants.
And then, I was already from the first movie invested in all the stuff that's going on with the Odin and Loki and everything. So I was all about that. I loved seeing all that. And it's there's nothing of great staggering importance going on necessarily in the plot. There are bits and bobs hanging around the place, and it's all very kind of slapdash and throwaway, but it's got a great sense of humor. It's got a great roller coaster ride type vibe. I mean, by the end, where you've got Thor fighting Malekith through different portals and different places.
3 realms. That is fucking
realms,
awesome.
4 realms, actually, because they do fall into Trondheim or whatever that fucking one is where the slightly Mongolian-looking guys are.
Oh, yeah.
They do fall in and out of that. As do the fucking fighter jets, which was another great thing. So suddenly you've got 2 fucking gods fighting, or alien gods fighting fucking while flying jets are going in and out of portals. And, you know, then you've got Kat Dennings and Portman and Skarsgård doing like the comedic relief. And you've got Greenwich being dead. Like that whole ending, I was just, at that point, you fucking sold me. You just have sold me at that point, and it's great.
Right.
The Stan Lee cameo is the best Stan Lee cameo there's ever been. Him turning around going, "Can I get my shoe back, please?" was fucking genius. I loved it. And just the whole thing had a real nice, light-hearted, bombastic adventure. Boys, I tell you, it felt like one of those weird fantasy boys' own adventure crossover movies from the 80s, like the Biggles movie they made, or like Double Dragon, or like one of those, like it just had one of those like fun 80s, we're going to throw everything at the wall and see what sticks type vibe to it. Like I loved it. Like it was, a lot of it was superficial, but it was joyously so. I mean, like Idris Elba running out to attack the spaceship. Like, how fucking cool was that? I don't even need to know what.
Idris Elba got to live through a film. Thank God.
Right. He got to live through a film. He got to leap off the Rainbow Bridge and, like, take down a whole spaceship. It was awesome.
Yeah.
You know, you had the decimation of a city. You had all that cool stuff, like quickly put up the shields, and then the shit. Like parts of it were positively Flash Gordon-esque. It was wonderful. It was wonderful.
Yes,
as well, they should be. Right, I agree. It was just missing Brian Blessed. Like I could have done with Anthony Hopkins, maybe summoning his inner Blessed and being like, dive! But apart from that,
what should have happened is this should have been made 20 years ago, and Brian Blessed should have been Volstagg.
Right, of course.
No disrespect to Ray Stevenson, but, you know, if ever there was a marriage of material and actor.
No, material and beard, I think, is what you're talking about.
There you go. Yes, that too. Yeah, that too.
And although we're going to do a massive spoiler here, I had one more good point to say about it. Do a massive spoiler, though.
Massive spoiler. Massive spoiler. There is a colossal, considerable, enormous, gigantic, hefty and huge spoiler coming up. There is an immense, hefty, massive, sizable, substantial, tremendous, colossal spoiler coming up. It's incredibly large. It's bloody big. It's possibly the most massive spoiler we've ever done. It's such a very, very big spoiler. It's capacious. It's a monster. It is mammoth, jumbo, humongous. It's an extensive, spacious, super colossal, thundering, voluminous, and walloping spoiler that you have ever heard. It's a massive spoiler. It's a massive spoiler.
So I assume if you haven't seen Thor, you've turned off by now. But massive spoiler as to what happens to Rene Russo's character.
Yes.
I have to say that although I agree with you, we didn't spend anywhere near enough time with Frigga to really embrace her character arc or love her enough for her demise to be as tragic as it should have been. But
we got a kick-ass. She got her own kick-ass fight scene.
She got her own kick-ass fight scene.
She got her own even more kick-ass fucking Viking funeral.
And
Yes.
her Viking funeral, I'm not even kidding. I don't get involved in this stuff that much, but man, even I was holding back a man tear. I was holding back a fucking man tear.
That's beautiful, wasn't it?
That was
fucking
stunningly nerve-ending, shivering, hair on the back of your neck, just beautifully done. I mean, applaud-worthy. That was beautifully done. There wasn't any huge mawkish sentimentality. It was completely in keeping with the theme of the Viking burial. But you knew that when that flaming arrow headed towards the ship, that it was just tearing Odin's heart out without Hopkins having to do really anything. It was just, I mean, talking about it now, I'm tingling. Like it was just fantastic. Can't. And what I also like, what struck me in the middle of the scene, I was getting all emotionally involved in it, and then, funnily enough, your voice came into my brain. I'm not even kidding. We had a bit of a debate or a bit of a chat about the fact that, and they clarified it in this movie, that our Norse god mythology was really this alien planet of people who just live longer than us and more powerful than us.
Right. They just like to hang out in Scandinavia for some reason thousands of years ago.
However, there was a whole thing that you and I had spoken about, like, well, hang on a second, how do we rectify this? Because these are meant to be gods, like actual gods, but they're not really. They're aliens and this whole thing, and interdimensional planetary beings that George Lucas would call them, because he can't say alien.
And their creators, in fact, have called them at several points.
Right. No, I'm just going off the whole fucking Indiana Jones thing where they're called interplanetary.
They're interdimensional beings, right? Yeah. The space between spaces. But shit, there are actually plenty of those spaces connecting the 9 realms. Loki uses one in both films.
Yeah, of course. But no, but what was interesting was, of course, when her burial takes place, you do get the mystical or angelic lights from her burning body going off to heaven, essentially, or their heaven, right?
Right.
Which is an acceptance of, so hang on a second, gods aren't really gods, they're really interplanetary, dimensional, portal jumping, powerful aliens. But wait a minute, they do have a god? Like, that was questionable to me.
They have their own, they have ancestor worship, we know that. They certainly built statues of their elders.
Right,
they just, I took it as just corporation, like Stranger in a Strange Land, that kind of thing.
Okay.
They just kind of fade away in a blaze of glory, right?
But no, out of the fire, her essence or soul or whatever that was depicted in those like glowing lights swirled around and shot up to Valhalla, I presume, or whatever it is meant to be.
Right, but see, the hell of it is, Valhalla is supposed to be below Asgard, so I'm like, did they clarify? Did Loki states flat out, right? We're not gods,
right?
But of course, then again, that's Loki, and they're being they're being coy about it. They're trying to have their cake and eat it. The comics do the same thing. It's something we just generally have accepted over the years, because they can't just come flat out and say it. Because,
is there any explanation as to why? Because what they did open up a can of worms here with the whole Rene Russo Loki storyline is that Loki has Frigga's power or similar powers, but he's not Frigga's kid. So how does that work?
Yeah, that's a very good question.
Did Frigga maybe pop off to the Dark Realm and have a bit of "How's your father" with the ice god or whatever his name was?
Or did she bond with the second son when it became obvious to everyone in the house who Dad really preferred?
Right.
I would say the latter, because Loki specifically conjures a image of her to talk to in his cell, which was incredibly sad and pathetic, and actually moved my own black chitinous little nub of a heart there for a second. For the God of Lies, because yes, that and his reaction when Thor comes to him post the funeral and tells him to dispel all the illusions, and he's just sitting there in his wreck of a room that he trashed because, like a dick, nobody let him out to attend the funeral. But I understand why they didn't. But still,
right.
That's kind of a shit move. But no, good character and her death, of course, provides good character moments for the both of them, as it should. And the hell of it is, of course, in comics nobody really dies, so we may see her again.
Right, exactly.
Hope springs eternal.
Yeah, I unabashedly loved it. I was saying before we recorded that one of the reasons I wanted to do this episode was that, fuck it, I just came out of that movie wanting to geek all over this film, not because it was like incredibly well structured or plotted, but because it was just
they may have
fun. It was just fun, man. It was like those movies. It was. I'm always saying this about 80s movies. The other day we were watching, like, Never Too Young to Die, like that horrendous, like, ridiculous, over-the-top Stamos movie from the 80s with Gene Simmons as a bad guy. But the point that, the movie, the great thing about that movie is it's everything and it's nothing. Like, it's just a bunch of fun for fun's sake. Why is the villain a hermaphrodite? We don't need to know. He's a hermaphrodite. It's hysterical. Why is he, why is Stamos a gymnast turned secret agent? We don't need to know. He's a gymnast. It's just cool. 80s. It's 80s thing. And there are so many awesome movies like that are just fucking adorably cool and funky and fun that you rarely get that in modern times. And it wasn't until thinking about this movie and all its different things, because there's fucking high comedy in this movie, there's high fantasy in this movie, there's like soppy romance in this movie, there's tragedy in this movie, there's evil Whovian-looking villains and Star Trekian-looking villains, and there's the Dark World, and there's the realms, and there's the thing. There's so much going on, and it's all done in just a joyous, and now we're off to this next thing type way, with just a kind of breeze about it and an enjoyability about it that was just so refreshingly groovy and conjured up those weird, wonderful movies from the 80s. That's my...
It's easy and free. It's light as a feather, this is, which tells me that, along with the 3 screenwriter credits, that it was written to hell, and then there's probably like half an hour of this thing lying on the cutting room floor somewhere.
Right.
It's probably all the character scenes with Malekith that I'm missing, and like more good scenes between Jane and the rest of Asgard. Really, I'm like shit. But yes, I agree with everything you said.
And it's directed by a TV director.
Alan Taylor, yes, worked on several episodes of Game of Thrones that I loved.
He's
and a lot of
worked on, you name a popular show from the last 20 years, and he's worked on it. Deadwood, right? Rome, Lost, Sopranos, Law and Order, Mad Men, Nurse Jackie, Bored to Death, Boardwalk Empire, Game of Thrones,
And I was worried, and I shouldn't have been, because he was the big third choice for the director's chair. But like a good journeyman, he went in there and he got that shit done. And I congratulate him. He did it well, and he did it easy, to the point where I wanted to spend more time with his movie in his universe, and it was nice. That is a good feeling to have.
And do you know what one of his first major TV series that he worked on was?
The A-Team?
No, I'm sorry, I can't claim that. It was Homicide, Life on the Street, one of my very favorite TV shows of all time.
Hell yes, exactly. And that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, if you can make Homicide, you can really make anything. That's fact. I didn't even mind the fucking the jokey shit about him being on the. I mean, I minded that it's more like somewhere. I think I just calculated it's more like if you were to just go to North Greenwich, it would be 10 stops. If you actually wanted to go to like the maritime place in Greenwich, it's 3 changes and something like 16 stops. But what I was going to say is I didn't mind the jokey Thor getting on the underground gag. I liked it. I thought, if you're going to go there, fine, let's do it. Let's go there and let's do it. I thought it was really good. I honestly did, and I liked that it was filmed in London for London. It wasn't filmed in some other. It wasn't filmed in Los Angeles.
Right,
for
standing
London.
in for London. No,
it was actually filmed in studios in England as well. They didn't even. I don't know how much of it was filmed in America. I'd imagine some of the green screen stuff, but most of it was done in studio in England.
And with some little location shots on Iceland too.
Yeah, which I've got to applaud. I thought was fantastic. So yeah, I mean, obviously, like the Realm stuff is not going to be filmed in England. We don't have any landscapes like that particularly, but
but it's nice to it was nice to see. That was nice to see as a back. It was a great backdrop. I'm just wondering, how come no portals ever open like over Scandinavia? Like, is there not some city in any, all 3 of those countries, that we could like trash at some point? Maybe, I don't know.
Well, Europe doesn't exist. I mean, the last time Europe existed was when they filmed The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen in Prague. That was the last time Europe existed. Name an American movie or a British movie or any movie you can think of over the last 10 years that has had anything to do with Europe whatsoever. That hasn't been a European movie.
You mean aside from the Hostel series? You see, I could do that, but they're all shit. So
yeah, it's all Eastern Europe where they've made movies out there, just because it's cheap labor, right?
Exactly. It's like, it's like that. It's like that sequel to the Fright Night remake that just came out. That's the same movie all over again. And in Prague, but that's the hook. It's the same movie all over again, but this time in Eastern Europe.
This time with people we're only paying $1 for a week's work.
Exactly. Yes, and in Eastern Europe though, so it's exotic and kind of creepy. But no, we got to go to London and we got to trash London again. This is like this in the G.I. Joe movie, and God, there was something the fucking Fast and the Furious movie. That one too. What the shit? I know everything's premiering in Lancaster Square like a week before it gets to
Leicester Square, dude. Different northern city. It's Leicester Square. It's not Lancaster Square. Yeah.
Sorry. Sorry. I've been drinking.
It's people like you that think it's 2 fucking stops from Charing Cross. No, I'm kidding.
It's people like me who won't even notice that. That'll just fly right by us. We're like, okay, fine, another bit of odious comic relief in the middle of our climax.
I think that was brave. It's difficult to edit and direct a piece that has so many disparate things going on and it still maintain its pace. I thought it was fantastic.
That's true, and I didn't mind all of it. When Kat Dennings calls Mjolnir meow meow, that was pretty nice.
Yeah,
I still laugh whenever that happens. But Stan Lee always used to say that you can, whenever people would ask him how to pronounce any of the shit, he'd just be like, "Oh, whatever," So.
I would have to argue, though, how is it that Kat Dennings manages to be utterly fantastic and adorable in Thor movies and Defendor, but utterly, utterly horrible in that sitcom she's in?
I would say because it's a sitcom, because I'm a dick like that.
Yeah, okay.
But that's just me. It could be just shitty directors.
Yeah. But I wrote a tweet that said, I love Thor Dark World, but Greenwich is at a bare minimum 10 underground stops and at least 1 change from Charing Cross. Brits watch movies too.
Indeed. Shit. Brits get them a week before we do now. So I don't know. Yeah, nobody caught that one. But then again, they post converted this thing into 3D and then showed that to the critics. And I'm like, what idiot made that decision? That's like really dumb. You want that's just
I saw it in 2D, so I've given up on going to 3D.
Thank you. Yes, please do that. But yes, universe-hopping action-adventure thrill ride. Fun for the entire family, and lots of other critical cliches. Some basic storytelling problems that were probably created by mucking about, but it was nice. It was really nice to see all of that, finally. I thought, and we got 4 worlds in the climactic battle, so I think that's the total for the film, and that's 5 to go.
Yep. I would like to call it Flash Gordon meets Biggles meets Lord of the Rings. That's what I'm calling it.
And I'm waiting until we get to Hell, the land of the dead, because that will force them to answer some fucking questions one way or another.
and maybe do a Marvel Zombies film. I don't know.
Oh, God. You better hope not. Oh, God, no. Oh, please, God, no.
Dude, I'm surprised with all the fucking zombie movies that are still inexplicably being pumped out that there hasn't been talk of it. But I don't know, did you happen to see the fan-made film of Army of Darkness versus Marvel Zombies that was made recently?
I did not. Is such a thing exists?
Such a thing exists, and was, not only that, surprisingly well done. I mean, I couldn't have seen a whole movie made like that way, but for a bunch of people in a parking garage with, a digital camera and some very, very, very authentic-looking costumes, it was exceptionally well done.
Well, I've actually been seeing a lot of those around. It's like once a year we get a 2-minute pitch for a Wonder Woman movie that's made under similar conditions, and it's almost like clockwork now. It's kind of nice, actually.
Well, you can go. It was made by people with the unlikely name of I think it's WTFLOL, which I don't necessarily approve of, but
right. I'm suspicious of them already. They sound like twee hipster fucks.
You can go to aftermoviediner.com, and there is a link to it on that site. It's the last link on the homepage.
Awesome.
So you can scroll down to that, and there is an unofficial fan film of Marvel Zombies versus Army of Darkness. And while the guy playing Ash doesn't quite have old Bruce's, and I have to start referring to him as old Bruce or pre-remake Bruce or insouled Bruce, back when Bruce had his soul, doesn't quite have his swagger or cheesy ability, but he gives it a damn fine square-jawed shot.
Yeah. And what more can we ask for?
Right. But I have to say, the people doing the Marvel Zombies, very, very well done, I thought. Good makeup, good gore effects, good costuming. Nice.
Well, good. It will be the first decent thing with the Marvel Zombies name attached to it.
Yes, indeed. I loved Thor 2. I loved Iron Man 3. And I obviously didn't like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. That is my roundup for this show. What about yourself, sir?
Oh, gosh. I'd say Iron Man 3 and Thor 2 they're all right. Slightly above average in both cases. Need a little work around the edges there. Sand some shit off. So for Thor 3, and I know there will be one, I would recommend, we go to Hell and visit her realm. And as long as we're poaching talent from Game of Thrones, I would say start measuring Lena Headey for a big green cape.
Okay.
And, like an evil one-piece bikini type thing.
So what other news that can we finally put the lid on Marvel 2013? Well, we've got James Spader as Ultron in Avengers 2. What's your feeling on that, sir?
Oh, that's too far off. I won't know till I see it. Before that, though, we're going to have to deal with the Netflix influx. Netflix original series are apparently all the thing. I don't know personally, but now I'm going to have to find out, because they have announced not one, not two, but 3 series featuring various superheroes. Street-level superheroes, in this case, that will, per usual, eventually combine to form their own superhero team. You Netflix subscribers can watch out for that coming up soon. Oh, gosh. It's, let me see here. It's one of them will, of course, be a remake of Daredevil, finally.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about that one. Yeah. I didn't realize it was Netflix, but I knew there was a TV show coming.
That's where it's coming. I don't know why they decided to skip off the traditional networks for all of this. It's not like anyone's turning down superhero TV shows these days. I mean, fucking Green Arrow has his own show. It's
a good show, apparently.
Do you know that for a fact?
I've not seen it, but I've been hearing a lot of positive reviews, unlike Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right, and it's
even had a spin-off now. Hasn't Arrow got a spin-off now to another show as well?
I've heard them talk about spin-offs and guest stars for since the first season. I've heard Huntress is going to show up. I've heard the entire Birds of Prey, in fact.
The people to listen to is the Trilogy podcast with our good friend Andrew Buckley on it. He covers all these kind of shows.
Okie dokie. And yeah, I'm going to have to at least start tangentially paying attention to them. Because Daredevil people at least know about. People like Luke Cage and Jessica Jones and Iron Fist are complete C-listers, even among comic book fans. And so, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what the hell they manage to do with Hero for Hire or, any of these people. Jesus Christ. I mean, it's the entire idea to me sounds completely crazy. I mean, it's...
Do the Howling Commandos TV show. That's what I want.
That would be nice too. That should be what Captain America 2 is, but no, they're doing Winter Soldier. They're plowing ahead. If this were like 2003 or so, when everyone was ripping off Saving Private Ryan, then maybe we would have gotten that. But no, everyone's ripping off Batman now, so we've got lots of urban vigilantism to look forward to. Right? I'm curious, but yeah, not optimistic, obviously.
It fits the... this is where I would be in agreement with your statements earlier. It fits the network television mold of main guy, couple of people he either goes to, leans on, or teams up with, going up against like everyday stuff that's going on that people can relate to in Iowa or wherever the fuck people relate to shit.
Yeah, right. Because everyone relates to Special Victims Unit. Am I right?
Right. And that fucking, what was that? I was watching something the other day and a promo came on for Blue Buds and I was like, Tom Selleck still has a TV show? That's still a thing that's going on? And then you find out that shows like Jag ran for 11 seasons or something ridiculous. Like, who watched that show?
All your moms.
Right.
My mom, certainly.
I have at least 28 mums that watched it personally.
Right. She's keeping NCIS. I know my mom's keeping NCIS on the air for whatever reason.
They don't relate to us kids, man.
Oh, right. Yeah, with our brims and our fringes. And,
with our 60-year-old fucking characters like
right,
Superman.
Yeah, 60-year-old comic book characters.
Yeah. Right.
Or 40-year-old in most of these cases. Daredevil, obviously, is from the first wave of superheroes, but people like Iron Fist or Jessica Jones or Luke Cage, man. Fucking Luke Cage. Some of us have been waiting for a Luke Cage movie for, like, ever. You want to talk about your retro throwback 80s action hero stuff, you do Hero for Hire. My God. He was created himself as a Marvel Comics answer to the then common blaxploitation craze of the 70s. Right down to the whole man jailed for a crime he did not commit, gets out and becomes something, else, urban vigilante in this case.
Right.
But it's this kind of shit. Jessica Jones is a PI. Iron Fist.
Luke Cage going to be a movie at one point?
I'm sure. I'm absolutely positive because, like I said, it's perfect. You don't have to. He doesn't even wear a costume half the time. You don't have. You don't have to deal with any prissy prima donna actors giving you shit. And even when he does have a costume, it doesn't have a mask, so you don't have to rip the mask off all the time to give him face time. It'd be perfect, but for some reason, probably because his name is not well known enough, except to a certain group of people who just... We long for any black characters in our superhero universes.
Do you know who they almost cast?
Who?
Idris Elba.
Well, hell, I would not be opposed to him doubling up.
No, but he revealed, while discussing Thor: The Dark World and his upcoming role as the imprisoned leader of South Africa in Mandela, practically a real-life superhero, Elba let slip that at one point they were talking to him about taking over the role of an iconic superhero in a franchise of his own. There was talk of Luke Cage at one point, Elba revealed. I thought Luke Cage was a pretty interesting character. They were going to do it, but I don't know what happened. Neither do we, Idris, neither do we. It says, Movie Phone. That's the website I read that off.
Well, and shit, they don't know either. Nobody knows. It just disappeared somewhere into the ether. But hey, now
into
it's
the
back.
ether, into the red... glowing
into the red glowing whole of the see this is the problem though. This is the big problem with turning all this shit into just random MacGuffins. You know, if you got giant armored megalodons pouring out of a hole in the sky, or giant mechanical spiders that are also terraforming machines, this kind of shit I can wrap my head around. You know, it's simple, it's easy, big striking image in the sky. You know, big thing, boom. It come down and bad shit happen. But like a red and black glowy mist shit, I can't really drum up the care. You know, it's like I'm sorry, I didn't care. Unless, you know, even when it infects Natalie, because it's not like it gives her superpowers. But anyway.
It's so that Benicio del Toro in a future movie can take the ether out, and out of the ether will flow the long-lost script to Luke Cage, and Idris will run in, grab it, and run off again, and that'll be their linking device to the Luke Cage movie. But it's all good things. So I just wanted to get your take on some of the rumors from the rumor mill, but you're not willing to give a voice to your Ultron opinion yet, no?
No, because I don't know. Fuck, could go either way. Yeah.
But how are you feeling about Phase 2 now, sir?
In general, doing well so far. I'm curious at this point. I don't want to say cautiously optimistic. I'd say cautiously pessimistic, really. Because that's the way I approach most things.
Because what have we got? We've got Winter Soldier.
Guardians. Yeah, we got Winter Soldier, which thank God. That's
because Guardians is another thing at the moment. There's been rumors of them showing up in the Avengers, but I mean, I don't know how
they'll
they are.
Go into space. Yes, that would be perfect if they were doing what I thought they were doing at the Avengers 2. But now they're doing this Ultron thing, which could go either way. But Age of Ultron was a fairly recent storyline in the comics that, in fact, just concluded over the summer. So I'm curious as to whether or not they're going to actually do something like that, or whether they're just going to use the name to try and sell more tickets like they need.
What I want to know, though, is if Ultron is all like metal and stuff, right? He's like
True.
Another kind of Iron Man clone type thing.
He's more like a Data clone, actually. He's a robot. Android, I should say.
But how is James Spader going to be able to sleaze over all the women when he's a robot? That's what I want to know. Because Spader has one role in a movie, and that is to come across as ultra creepy and ultra sleazy. And, how is he going to be able to do that as a robot?
I would counter that with one of my favorite James Spader movies, which would be Stargate, in which he actually got to show quite a degree of range and humanity by playing the...
he was still kind of sleazy in Stargate.
If you say so. I remember him turning down sex with the nubile village girl that was thrown at him initially.
Right.
At least until he had, 1.5 conversations with her.
Right. But there was still feminine interest there.
Of course. He's James Spader. What do you expect? Sure.
Right.
You put him on a plastic bag, which is probably what they're going to wind up doing. It's probably just going to be his voice. I'd be amazed if his face actually showed up in some capacity or another, because, Christopher Eccleston sure as hell didn't. So
yeah, I didn't even know it was Christopher Eccleston.
Right.
It could have been Armin Shimmerman, for all I know. Do you know who do you know who he is?
Of course I do.
Yes.
Of course I do. I read the opening credits of every DS9 episode.
Right. But it could have been him. I mean, it looked like Armin Shimmerman.
Could have been Jeffrey Combs, right? Who played like 5 different characters under different kinds of makeup on that show.
Yeah.
I mean, shit. And he just kept showing up, and you'd hear that voice, and you'd be like, oh, sweet.
Combs is back.
Yes, things are going to get sleazy.
Yeah. Not quite as sleazy as Spader, who is king of sleaze.
Right, but this was network TV, and network TV in the 90s, which, good Lord, woo. We don't know how good we have it, but yeah.
No, true.
But yeah, I'll be interested as hell to see what they manage to pull out with it. They got to do Ant-Man first, though, because if we don't know who Dr. Pym is, then
they got to do Ant-Man before Avengers 2?
They would. I would hope he would have some, or I would hope Dr. Pym would have some role to play in the film. If they're not going to do that, I mean,
Right.
He'd be like the Mr. Blue in the Incredible Hulk movie. Right, he'd just show up there to do something, and probably his stopping whatever Ultron manages to do will be the impetus for him to put on a suit.
You know, I do worry though, the whole Edgar Wright, Joe Cornish thing.
Right.
I love Edgar Wright making Edgar Wright, Simon Pegg, Nick Frost movies, because every single one of them has been great. Everything else he's done, not good.
Not so much.
And
yeah,
Joe Cornish, I mean...
Right? I know.
Like, he's a radio comedian from the UK that's done a lot of, like, radio comedy and wrote Attack the Block. But...
but, yes, Ant-Man. Would you... Yeah, does that seem a natural fit?
No.
Yeah, but shit, what do I know? I mean, good Christ. Like I said, Alan Taylor was their big third choice for Thor 2, and that turned out fine. Don Payne, the story writer on both Thor movies, also put his name to those atrocious Fantastic Four movies earlier in the decade.
Yeah.
Or last decade, I should say. But so, there's too many variables, and I can't play the guessing game.
No.
In fact,
we don't even know who's cast. It's got a release date of 2015. So and that's so everything is subject to change without notice. Yeah, and he's got test footage already, so he's presumably been working on that this year in between pimping The World's End. And doing the tour for that. He was at Comic-Con this year with test footage. So, and he's been mooted to make... Right.
They're probably negotiating. They're probably arguing over the budget at this point.
But he's been mooted to make this movie since Hot Fuzz came out. I mean, this has been on Edgar Wright's plate for years.
Right. He's apparently a Hank Pym fan, which I didn't know those existed, but they do. And I welcome them to the fold as my brothers and sisters may presumably, though I can't imagine. Because, Hank Pym attitudes towards the ladies have historically not been very nice. That's my real problem. I'm afraid they're going to water him down to make him less of an asshole. And then he will not be the Hank Pym that I know. Something will be lost. Something different. Something to distinguish him from all the other super scientists running around the Marvel Universe. Because that's been the role he's grown into over these years. That's the only reason I could see them putting him in the Marvel Universe, because Hank Pym is the designated asshole and life's designated bitch. In that order. Probably the one more than likely because of the other. More often than not. He's If you want a character who just digs his own grave over and over again, you call Dr. Pym. You'd think you'd call Dr. Banner, but even he's doing better. Even his life is in better shape most of the time. Which, yeah, it's going to be funny what they do with him. It'll either be the weirdest and wackiest of all of these fucking movies, or it'll be the one that you get bored of the fastest.
Right.
So, we'll see. Because that's generally how Ant-Man stories tend to go, really. There's not a lot of middle ground. But we'll see. Shit. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's good. You know, we've got James Gunn and Edgar Wright. It's kind of treacherous territory for the whole sub movies, like the second tier movies. But we'll wait and see. For the moment, as far as the Avengers group is concerned, I'm very much invested. And there's obviously the new X-Men. I know it's a completely different studio, but there's a new X-Men coming out soon, which I'm looking forward to.
Yes, Wolvie and Pals 6 at this point, wouldn't it be? Yes. Yeah. How we fold our prequel into continuity.
Yes, indeed. So, yeah, I mean, lots of things happening, lots of things that are exciting. We've got the new Spider-Man coming out, of course. And that'll be probably the next time we talk, so I would imagine.
Awesome. We doing a Spider-Man retrospective. Do I get to bitch even more about super science? Because I will.
Yeah, we'll do a Raimi trilogy episode, I guess.
Yes.
Which will probably be the last fucking Raimi films I ever cover on this show.
And hey, they will be from his pre-betrayal period there, all safely, every last one of them. Even though Spider-Man 3 totally ruined a date for me, so I have a personal grudge against it.
Yes.
Because of that. And no other reason. None whatsoever. No, none.
But it's been a pleasure, as always, David, to hash out the Marvel Universe with you and to talk these films, which are, again, as I say, surprisingly novel and interesting things, considering what they could have been or, where they're from. So exciting and good. And thanks ever so much for joining us. And we'll talk again soon, sir.
Thank you once again, John. It's awesome. And it was awesome, as always.
Pimp your And You Thought It Was Safe show.
Oh, as always, everyone can find me at aytiws.com. That would be And You Thought It Was Safe, where I review movies and basically do exactly what I've been doing here, only without strange British man answering.
I don't even know how I would have a cameo on AYTIWS.
I'll find some way. I'll find some way to write you in. You just give me a
I've been enjoying you playing all the parts, dude. That's what I've been enjoying. So,
yeah, it's acting for one. It's been a necessity, a bit of necessity. I have managed to rope at least one other person into this madness, and you might see that coming up once I edit the pieces together.
Nice.
But yes, so far. And who knows, there might be more. I might even spring for decent special effects software. And then, I could do split screens.
Nice. Ooh. Sky is the limit then. Okay, great. Well, we'll look forward to that over at AYTIWS. Everyone check that out. That's a .com. Or you can go on Twitter and find David there at AYTIWS. Thank you ever so much, sir. It's been a thrill. I've been me. You've been you. Cheerio, one and all.
Dark desert road, I got the windy face. God never visited this kind of place. It's barren out the back, just got dominion. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. They got rats as big as dogs. Well, nobody's around, but the train is still clogged. Come on, come on, like a rain. Well, Barry Sonnenfeld, he'd been away. Another wedding, another day. He can't find the ham, he can't find the chicken. Can't
identify that song they've been picking. I got handbag full of guns down at the station. You want cake, you want water, but you gotta be patient. Come on, come on, be patient now. Well, my baby coming knocking, she's been on the race. You don't get nowhere if you don't learn to play nice. 3 knocks for yes and 1 kick for no. My baby puts on one hell of a show. She got sniffed up, dressed up, baby's hair got messed up. Woke up in an alleyway, it's where I'm calling home today. Working on a masterpiece and playing in the dirt. Shouting at a shooting star might get the gutter hurt. Movie screening, press line crowded in the dark. Time is turning backwards and you haven't got a clock. Come on, come on. Well, I got the map, you be the guide. There's always something hidden when you don't know where to hide. When you're sure miraculous someone fell out of a tree. My baby's only got those eyes for me. Rack the bad germs, boiled sponge, bird lungs. Someone saw through all the rungs, waiting in the ocean, trying to find yourself a watch. There's a bikini belt that could use another notch. Holding back the question, forming an excuse. Every day is lucky if you don't end up in a noose. Come on, oh yeah. Well, my baby's cooking bacon, baby is the best. My baby's wearing nothing but a tight white vest. She's got the answers, I got the rig. Don't worry about the bacon, you can worry about the pig. Sniffed up, dressed up, baby's hair got messed up. I woke up in an alleyway, it's where I'm going home today. Working on a masterpiece and playing in the dirt. Shouting at a shooting star might get the gutter hurt. It's a movie screening press line, I'm crowded in the dark. Time is turning backwards and you haven't got a clock. Come on. They've got rats as big as dogs, and nobody's around, but the train is still clogged. Come on, come on. I got a handbag full of guns down at the station. You want cake, you want water, well, you gotta be a patient. Come on, come on. I'm holding back the question, forming an excuse. Every day is lucky when it don't end up in a noose. Come on, shimmy-doo, shimmy-doo.
There are men, and then there are second unit podcast men. The podcast you've just been listening to is part of the Second Unit Podcast Network. Find all of our shows at 2upn.blogspot.com or on Facebook under the Second Unit Podcast Network. Our fantastic list of shows include Drunk on VHS, We Came from the Basement, No Budget Nightmares, The After Movie Diner, Dr. Action and the Kick-Ass Kid, and Bloodbaths and Boomsticks. Take one podcast into the shower. Don't be a blithering idiot, Alan. We can give you the multiple podcast cleansing system all in one place that your hair deserves. Our programming is available across all platforms from iTunes to Podomatic, TalkShoe to Stitcher, so you have absolutely no excuse. Listen today, and a free naked person of your choice will be shipped from Thailand to your door in a matter of weeks. The Second Unit Podcast Network, bringing you the action and leaving the boring stuff to the other guys. Bloody hell. Who does a girl have to blow around here to get a decent beverage?